Hey, I'm Nashi.
I'm Rezlar.
And I'm Frosty. Welcome back to the Value Pack.
Hold on, I have to gear check Nash right now. Alright, that is some bull jabber. Dude, he CC'd me how to dance. What's happening? Rezlar!
People look at you like you're crazy, and they refuse to admit that it's pay to win, and just scream that it's pay to convenience! It's pay to convenience!
Big money, big money, big money,
Big money! Oh shit, we got it! We fucking got it! And welcome everybody to another episode of the Value Pack. We're back. We took last week off. There wasn't a lot going on. In fact, there was nothing going on in Global Labs because there weren't any Global Labs notes. I think it's like a holiday or something in KR. Is that why they didn't do it?
Yeah, their KR, like Thanksgiving, I guess, equivalent, which I believe lasts multiple days. It's like 3 days.
Yeah. So without any Global Labs and without too much going on live servers, we decided to take the week off. But you know what? They made up for it with this week because we got a lot of stuff to talk about in regards to the Global Lab notes. A lot of interesting discussions to be had about some, I'll say some volatile classes. But first, before we get into all that stuff, I would like to thank our lovely, lovely patrons. Hawaiian, I Has Issues, Jeremy Johnson, Calahad, Melt on Your Mouth, Minaria, Slytech, Talus X Septum, thanks, and Wavesy. Appreciate you guys for your support and everybody else who supports us on Patreon and on our Twitch streams as well. Thank you so much. So we have two guests today, just like we did for the Warrior Ranger Global Labs. This time we have Sorc and Archer, and we have two very wonderful guests joining us today, willing to give their insight on all the things that are going on. It is Heedun here to talk about Sorc. Hello, Heedun.
Hello, everyone.
And Nusar here to talk about Archer.
Yo.
Thank you guys for joining us, man. We appreciate you taking some time, especially since you are both not in NA. And Nusar just alerted us that it is 3 a.m. where he is.
Oh, yeah. He's not in NA, but he plays in NA.
Yeah. But it's pretty late. And Heedun, I think for you, it's probably, kind of in the evening-ish?
Yeah, we are almost 7 p.m. It's pretty good.
So we appreciate you guys taking some time to work out schedules with us and everything.
So let's start with Nusar first. Nusar. If you could introduce yourself a little bit, people that might not know who you are, how long have you been playing Archer? How long have you been playing BDO? And yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, hello everyone. I am Nusar. Weird family name, I know. I've been playing Archer since probably 2 months after it came out. I was sort of in a limbo of not really playing BDO at the time. But I made my account back in 2016, a good maybe 1 month after NA release. So I'm a bit of a BDO boomer in that regard. But really passionate about this class. It's kept me in the game through everything. So yeah, really excited for these reworks.
What did you play before Archer?
From release until Archer, I was a Ranger main.
Ah, okay. Is this your typical archetype in every game you play?
Pretty much. I usually go for the bow and arrow classes.
I see. And Heedun, can you introduce yourself for those who don't know? Everyone knows, but if you could introduce yourself, you famous lad.
Everyone knows me.
Everyone knows. Dude, you're on...
I feel like that was more of a slight on Nusar. Nusar, you have to introduce yourself, but Heedun, you don't have to worry about it.
To be fair, I have worked hard for that. I've been around.
Yeah, dude, he was.
Yeah, I've my BDO player since day minus something. I've played a bit on the Russian server before BDO came out on you. Content creator, Twitch streamer, YouTuber, voice of Archer, I don't know, guild leader of Villain, owner of 2 cats,
keeper of chains.
I was gonna say,
we can keep going. I can keep going.
Yeah.
A full list.
The mother of dragons.
And you played Sorc since day one?
Yes.
Yeah. And for those people that have been around for a while, Heedun's actually been on the podcast before.
A long time ago.
Heedun was one of our very early guests. I think first 10 guests we had. I think we had him on episode 20 something
Yeah,
I'll say
that-
like 24 maybe.
more
but
than more than 2 years ago. And
yeah, very God, that was so long ago.
that was
Yeah,
also
that was before I was.
yeah, that was
with you
before
guys.
Nyashi was born, and it was when it was when we were using a tape recorder, and Heedun had to bring his own equipment.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah,
was,
there
it
was-
was,
Kinda, yeah. I had to record my own, right? My own
Yeah.
voice track or something.
Yeah,
Man, the bad old days.
the
But
battle.
as I
is-
said, I've been around. Like I've always been a big fan of, I guess, crossing the communities, the EUNA community or any other community really. And it's always interesting. It's always a nice talk. I think it's we don't have this enough.
Rez, if you haven't heard, the reason why Heedun is oh so famous. Well, I mean, he's been around for a long time, BDO community, but something that took him out of the BDO community and made him famous everywhere is Asmongold watched his interview with Estimate and put it
Yeah.
up on
Oh,
YouTube
yeah.
and
Oh,
stuff. Yeah,
that's
which
right,
was
that's
really
right, he
cool
did
to
do
see,
that.
actually.
And Charlie too. Moist Critical.
Oh,
Oh, damn, bro.
yeah. Was
Yeah.
that? Did they just happen upon those videos?
Obama's next.
Ooh.
Obama's next.
Obama's next.
I think a bit of algorithm magic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, the sad fact, if you want to know about like those instances, is that I almost get no extra views from those two things. Actually, like just extra
Yeah.
few thousands. Like the video, I think has like 160,000 views, and I think it was like at 150 before he watched it on stream.
Right.
I'm still grateful that it got watched by a much wider audience. I think it's still a very good feeling as a content creator when something that you do gets appreciated by a lot of people.
So I want to talk a little bit before we get to the reworks. I want to talk a little bit about the tournament that took place, the Pearl Abyss official tournament, the 1v1 best in class, main gear and trial gear, because both of you actually took part in that. Heedun got pretty far. Nusar went all the way. Nusar, if I could start with you. One, I don't know if people were expecting you to win or not, but I think a lot of people thought General Moores would win. Just going into it, it's a very recognizable name. People have seen him before, so it was really cool to kind of see like a new name pop up. How was like the whole Arena of Arsha experience for you as far as that tournament went?
It was good. It was certainly interesting. I had to make some schedule adjustments because I think most of my fights took place at about 7 a.m. on a Monday. So that was interesting.
That is rough. Holy crap.
It was good. The main reason a lot of people expected Moors to, go all the way is because as one of the less represented classes, everyone just kind of sees the biggest name, and obviously General Moores got himself out there, worked really hard, and got well known as an archer back in the early days, and kind of rode that for a long time. But among a lot of the, I think T2 and maybe a bit up guilds, there were definitely a bunch of archers that were rooting for me as well. But it's hard to get exposed to more and more people on this class when there's so few people playing it.
Yeah, and you have the godlike title, am I right?
I do.
Okay, and how was that trial tournament? You just ran through everyone, right?
So two people sort of dropped out of it. One unintentionally. So I only had to do one fight, and that was the semifinals because barely any archers showed up, even registered for the trial one.
Right. What?
So yeah,
Well,
that
because
was
in
interesting.
the trial one, you had to have one match in the gear one,
Yep.
right? Which was
And
I still do
yeah.
not comprehend to this day.
it doesn't make any sense to me either, and especially the 100 days requirement. There were a lot of really good archers I thought should have been able to participate, but they didn't get to because of 100 days.
Yeah.
There's a couple good
Kinda
melee
know
that
the
got
reason.
blocked by that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because in Korea they had a full sign-up, like 64 out of 64.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't want to have endless. They probably expected the same for UNNA or for other regions. Because if you have 64 players attending the gear one, then you also have half of them, or probably are enough of them on the trial one. It's a lot of people instead
How
of
do you think
the
PA
2, 3.
thought the wizard brackets were then in NA?
Oh god.
Yeah.
That was
Alright.
interesting.
In fairness, they had all just rolled to Sage, all right? They were out of
True.
practice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We could probably talk about that for hours, but I think a lot of people are very confused by that decision. And I'm with Heedun. I understand why they did it, but I feel like 100 days is a bit much, honestly. And
Yeah.
the whole like linking the two tournaments. Those two tournaments should not have been linked. I do not understand why they were linked in any way, in all honesty.
I agree.
If they were going to be linked, it should have been linked the other way, if anything.
So
I mean, it makes sense, right? Like if it's full attendance on a tournament that requires 100-day attendance in Korea, like imagine what people could do without any requirement.
right.
It would be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and it's sort of logistical effort to actually pull that through. Like I think
sure.
I think it went like don't get me wrong. I think it was like awful the way the tournament got. It should have been localized on you, right? But I think they just copy pasted what they had in Korea, hoping that it would work on you, and it just didn't. So I think that's the fuck up. I think it makes sense if you have in mind that everyone wants to participate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Nusar, I don't want to like take anything away because you played like a monster in the full gear tournament. Were you feeling pretty confident going into the trial one if the bracket was kind of filled out?
I was feeling pretty confident. I was definitely more worried about my fight with Fetch than any of the fights previously, because I see him closer to how I play style wise. But the gear tournament was interesting. I didn't have a large amount of confidence going in due to the gear disparity. I think in all fights except for the semifinals, I was outgeared by about 20 to 30 to 40 gear score.
Yeah.
Which isn't that much in an Archer 1v1, all things considered, but and I also screwed up a BM combo by accident due to DP, if you remember that one. Don't go back and rewatch it, please. It was embarrassing. But yeah, I was pretty confident in the trial one.
Yeah. And then Heedun, you got to the semifinals in the full gear tournament.
Yeah, I got 3rd place.
And then in the trial tournament, I forget where you ended up.
I don't even remember. Like I choked big time in both tournaments. Like I'm not saying I would have got 1st place. I probably wouldn't have on either, but I prepared quite a bit and I just choked massively on both, just straight out, hands shaking.
Yeah,
Mom
yeah.
spaghetti. It's just
So
it's something. It's weird because you'd think, as a streamer, I've been streaming for years. I'm used to people watching me play. Yeah, so it wasn't for me. It wasn't like the amount of people watching. I don't know what it was. It's really bizarre. I don't know. I'm also upset with myself because I practiced so much for it, and I still don't really know how to even get better at playing in tournaments besides doing tournaments, which is not something that happens often in media.
Yeah.
But yeah, TLDR, I got 3rd. I mean, 3rd place is not bad, right? But I feel like I should have played better.
You just wanted to perform for your audience. That's basically what it comes down to, and that's that can put pressure in and of itself. It doesn't matter how many viewers there are.
Yeah, it's a tournament is wildly different than just like hanging out and being on stream. And even if you're PvPing, like I don't know, there's something about there's like a hidden pressure you kind of put on yourself. Especially, I do think it's harder.
I mean, you could have a spot named after you for the rest of the remaining tournament. So.
Yeah, you could have the
one
Nyashi
mistake,
spot.
and then you're getting gone.
Yeah, you can get immortalized and not the way you prefer. So I mean, the pressure is there.
So one of the things that came out of the Sorc side of the tournament in EU that it's memed on to this day a little bit is that you guys had a succession Sorc win the tournament.
Yeah.
And that's like, if you could, I don't even know like how to ask, just could you talk about that? You had a succession Sorc win that tournament.
So like I lost to him and I really shouldn't have, because I think Awakening has the tech.
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want to even go into like the actual fight at the high head, because it's like at that point it's just excuses, right? But I think on paper Awakening has a clear advantage on Succession,
Right.
and we had a few Sorcs, especially in the higher brackets, that were not very what's the way to put it, they had one playstyle and they weren't either used or they weren't willing to change that playstyle to play against Succession, because it's not necessarily about winning, it's about having the most amount of HP. Like we had a lot of 3 minutes stalls on the Sorc fights, which shouldn't really happen. I think if you pick Blade Core, you will just win the matchup if you play correctly. Instead, we had a lot of Sorcs literally rotating super armors, and that works if you have more gear than your opponent. But if you don't, then it's a coin toss at the end to whoever lands some cheap damage and gets the win like that. So I think that sadly the EU tournament was really boring because of it. This Sorc one.
Yeah, it was interesting to see a Sorc win, and I think I don't know, people were kind of surprised by it because the kit on Awakening is, I don't know, it's pretty stacked.
It's better. Yeah, it should have it shouldn't have won.
But it's not that crazy because a Musa also won in the Musa tournament, so anything is possible. If you
we also had
wait, a Musa won in the
Musa tournament opposed to
yeah.
what?
Well, I'm just saying a Musa got through that bracket. It's impressive.
No, he's got a point.
I guess he means they were running away from each other the whole time.
Yeah.
It's not wrong.
I think that surprised all of us. I mean, hey, in our tournament, in the full gear tournament, we had like 3 people from EU won. So, you know,
True.
on the NA side.
True.
Anyway, so that whole experience was kind of cool. And then you guys both got to wait. Heedun, did you get to do anything with the ART stuff, or was that only for first? I remember hearing
it was
they were
only for
expanding.
first place.
Okay.
I mean, the Sorc community is pretty tight, I'd say, like, or at least organized with the Sorc Discord.
Okay.
And we got pretty much everyone there, and we kind of compiled stuff together. So the feedback was somewhat unanimous.
Aren't they still going to be like discussing with you guys after the reworks? I thought that's what the plan
I would
was.
sure hope so, because the most contact I've had ART official wise has been the general feedback survey that they did months ago.
Yeah, that's all I've heard that has happened as well.
Right. So I want to start with let's just start with you, Nusar, because you did get to participate and write some of your own ideas and stuff down. In this Archer rework, just as like a sort of an overall, like what you see in the notes and what you felt, how much of this stuff was mentioned in the feedback that the archers and yourself like sent in?
Not that much specifically. There are a few things that were just generally glossed over. The biggest thing we were hoping that they would pick up would be passive rework, because our passive is kind of, but they focused more on that rework unused skills thing than anything, which is not ideal.
Okay. Not ideal in what sense?
Yeah. A lot of the issues a lot of archers feel at the moment surround more to do with the verticality, recoil, split damage, lack of ranged accuracy, etc. And we got some unused skill reworks. I'll mention the breath rework. They split up our breath skill and put each alternate form as sort of a passive on a different ability. So for example, they put a reveal on Arrow Explosion, which makes our already redundant skill called Light's Mark, which reveals people for like 10 seconds or whatever, even more redundant. So it's literally it has no point at the moment, kind of thing. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. What about the HP recovery on Wrath of Nature?
I'm still iffy about that. While I like the idea of having HP recovery on that skill, giving it another use, I did still prefer to be able to cancel it instantly just for the buff and to continue moving.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll take a bit of getting used to. Similar to the Ragon's spirit change, it'll take a bit of getting used to.
Right. Heedun, what about you from the from what you've seen? Because I know a lot of the classes kind of put together a document or shared a lot of what was sent in. How much of the stuff that you see here is something you saw in that feedback?
It's hard to say. It's really hard to say because we got some weird changes that maybe are useful or maybe have the intention of what we asked, but it's I don't know if they actually end up having the usefulness when you actually apply them.
Yeah,
It's a lot of stuff. It's so many different things. Some things are good. Yes, like some things are so obvious that I don't know if it's from our feedback or if it's just so obvious. Like the
Right.
passive DP that we had to use Shift Q every 5 minutes.
yeah.
A lot of people just like that's so useless nowadays, right? It was useless back then too. So now it's a self cast pretty much.
Well, it's interesting because we had Flannels on the first week, and Biceptimus Prime, and it's kind of interesting to hear how completely different that answer is, because they both were also in the tournament and they both won. And they both said that everything, like almost everything that they were asking for, was in the changes. But it sounds like it's very different for Archer and Sorc. And I wonder do you think this is a disconnect with the, like, for example, maybe they're listening more to KR on some of this stuff or some of the other regions more so than NA?
I think Korea
Sorry, you go first.
has a big factor. Yeah, sorry. I think that the general opinion of a lot of the KR archers weighs a bit more from what we've seen so far, because they only really touched on two of the major points a bit. I mean, I'm not saying the rework is bad in any way,
Right.
but in terms of the things that we specifically asked for, they did sort of grab some things, but it's not the coverage we would have liked to have so far.
Did you want to add to that, Heedun?
Yeah, I think it's the other way around because Korean Sorcs are awful. I don't know if you've seen Korean Sorcs, like they did some atrocious combo. If you're surprised about the Succession Sorc in the EU final, Korea had 2 Succession Sorcs in the final that were doing like bound as a second CC every single time. They were doing the same combo over and over, and it never worked, and they kept doing it. It was so frustrating to watch. I think Sorc is just an incredibly hard class to balance, because if it's too strong, it's too strong. But if it's bad, it's too bad. It's really hard to balance. I don't know.
Right. So, what was if we could focus on one major thing? We'll start with the negative first, and then we'll go positive. So, starting with you, Nusar, what's like the one thing that they just completely missed that a majority of the Archer community and yourself is like, I wish this was added into the rework, and I'm sad that it's not?
Ranged accuracy by far.
Yeah.
There's just a general massive lack in ranged accuracy. Like, we could have skills that do, really good modifiers, but at range, it's just, I don't know how else to say it. People have been testing with this rework against evasion targets, even wearing full accuracy, and the damage is just not what it should be in that context.
So do you
there
guys...
are clips, but I don't have them handy.
Right. Do you guys want a how do you guys want the accuracy applied? Do you want it similar to like the way the Sorc buff works, where it's like a percentage for time on a skill, or do you want it, because I know one of the complaints Archers have is that they have to pre-buff a bunch, or do you just hope they increase the accuracy modifiers on some of the stuff?
It's a bit 50-50 from me. I feel like with the reworking of our passive, which is very much needed, or maybe even the Lights Mark skill, they should add some ranged accuracy increase to either our pre-buffs or as just modifiers. And that would also come into reworking the passive, because we've got a pointless crit chance passive when we already pretty much cap out on crit chance without it. Anyways.
What about you, Heedun? What's like as far as like a glaring omission to something that Sorc needed and it didn't really get in this patch?
Okay, it's really simple when you hear it.
Okay.
Like Sorc relies on KDs, right? And that's an issue in current meta for obvious reasons. So what they did was they removed 2 floats and added KDs.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what they did. So I don't know. Maybe it all makes sense with the new skill that comes out, but so far that's what they did. They removed floats and added KDs, where we really need something to, just deal with the adamantine meta.
So what would fix that? Because I see some people that want
Passive
kind of
penetration.
the passive ignore, or I've also seen some people that are just like, I kind of wish Shadow Ignition was a nuke again, as like a re-CC.
I'm a bit masochist when it comes to like I know for a fact that when it comes to like class choice, I'm a bit of a hipster. Like I don't want to play. Well, I played Sage, so maybe not that much, but I don't want to play the super most OP best class in the game. I do think it's healthy to have. Sorry for the small tangent. Like with the tag system, you have the class that you're passionate about, and then you have the meta slip. Anyway, just to justify my Sage decision.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So I think I like having Sorc to stay a complex class with like this perfect balance of pre-awakening, where you charge your shards and you CC people, and you have awakening where you do the big damage pretty much. So I like this duality where you use the 2 different specs for different things in a fight. So I think if they add a lot of damage to pre-awakening, then you just do a lot of damage no matter what. Which,
Right.
I mean, maybe it's required for today's meta, but it's not something I necessarily think the class needs. I don't think, especially because Sorc, you switch into Awakening instantly. And I also don't personally think that Sorc needs damage. I think Sorc needs a way to apply the damage that the class has, which is either a better way to CC or more mobility. And the mobility, we got the mobility a little bit. Rushing Crow Frontal, that's quite big because that's a 4-second cooldown. I maybe it would have been better to get something else like a flow of to Shadow Leap, like I don't know, maybe it's a 2-charge Shadow Leap, or well, the mobility is alright, but the issue is still that it's hard to apply the damage that you have, because Sorc has a lot of damage. Everyone have seen the 50% judgment montages and Crow melting people. We have the damage, we just don't have a way to apply it.
Right. So yeah, I actually think this is an issue with a couple classes too. Like I was talking to my Guardian friend, and one of the things that like dawned on me when he was complaining a little bit about their combo damage, especially if they land like Cleansing Flame and then going up and trying to re-CC, is like some classes don't have a re-CC that does damage, and Sorc does with Grim, but Grim doesn't always CC because of the resist. So do you guys need something like Upsurge, where it's like you get that 30% ignore knockdown resist for 10 seconds upon hit, like on something like a setup, or
yeah, either that or like as a passive. Like Sorc currently has a DP and evasion, DR and evasion as passives. It would make a lot more sense to remove those, have the class be an actual glass cannon, and give us tools to deal with combos and CCs.
Yeah. Nusar,
so that's one idea.
Nusar, you kind of struggle with the same thing, right? Like archers rely a lot on KDs.
Yes.
Do you have,
yeah, that is true.
have your community come up with anything that's like what do you guys want for that? Do you want things changed to floats, or do you want KD ignore resist, or?
We generally would like most of the CCs to stay the same, just some extra ignore resist, maybe in the form of, say, an upsurge buff like Sage, or something passive, because like I know Zerka, for example, has passive ignore grab res or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know why it wouldn't be that much of an issue to add that to these classes that have a lot of knockdowns.
I think the best
And stiffs.
outcome is just removing resistances, right? Or like dealing with the mechanic of resistance
Yeah.
itself.
On paper, yeah, that's probably the best solution, but I've heard that PA haven't been very encouraging about feedback surrounding the removal of
Oh yeah,
resistances.
it's not happening. It's not happening. No way.
So,
But yeah, that would be really, really nice. The reason we wouldn't want a lot of our CC types to change is because it would really mess with combos at the moment,
right.
and that would be a bit annoying, to say the least.
So
I don't think
Yeah.
you even have to remove resist, man. The biggest thing is just, man, resisting on the ground. I just,
yeah, that's the
I can't with that shit, man.
that's
Okay,
the-
actually,
yeah.
Big facts.
I hear that a lot, and in my opinion, it's the other way around. It's so much more punishing to get resisted when you're doing something and the opponent is up. Like, let's say you're against I don't know, like a class that has a skill that is unprotected that CCs, right?
Okay.
You see that the wind up of that skill, and you counter that with another skill that is unprotected that CCs. If you resist that, you get punished instantly, and there's nothing you can do, pretty much. But on the other way around, when someone is on the ground and you miss the CC, you do have most of the time a small time window where you can react to it, and the opponent is on the ground. So I think it's much more punishing to get resisted outside of a CC.
So
It
yeah,
might
I
be
agree
more
with Heedun, yeah.
punishing, but God, is it more
no,
infuriating?
no. I disagree, Eden, because here's the thing. In that instance where you're both throwing out a CC at the exact same time, like I totally get that. But the thing is when you're in the neutral game, a lot of the time you're gonna throw your CC and you're not throwing it and sitting there and waiting. You're usually throwing a CC and then you're gonna set yourself up to get out of a situation where you might be in trouble because you're not gonna react on that CC until it's actually resolved or landed. Whereas like, and yeah, on Sorc and some other class like maybe Ninja Kuno, you can get out of a resist, but like a Guardian can't, a Suck Nova can't. Some of the Mystics or Strikers, like depending on the combo, like if they resist the KD, like they get wake up grabbed or whatever. Like I think overall people get punished more when a player is on the ground and the re-CC is resisted than when they're not CC'd, just because they haven't relinquished control of their character or put themselves in an uncomfortable situation. Like they usually are trying to protect themselves after CC. So like in the case of Sorc, like if I go for an eruption catch, I'm going to iframe eruption. I'm not going to sit there in my eruption and look and see if he got CC'd and go for it. I'm going to wait. I'm going to iframe again or do something safe. Whereas like when they're on the ground and you start your combo and you do like Grim Soul Reaper and then you just get grabbed out of Soul Reaper, obviously like that might be bad for the average Sorc, but a lot of classes can't get out of that, or they're just too slow to get out of that. So like I mean, again, I'm with you in that they should just be removed entirely, but I actually think it's more infuriating. I'm kind of with Reslar. It's more infuriating to lose a fight because they resisted on the ground than you just didn't land a CC because they resisted when they weren't on the ground, and you keep fighting. You know,
I'm not even making a balance argument. I'm just talking from the perspective of having fun. Like, it is so incredibly frustrating when you're trying to CC this goddamn Sorc for 20 years while they're iframing around. You finally manage to catch them, and then they resist the second CC on the ground, so you have to start this whole process over again. It tilts so hard.
that all having been said, though, I do think it's also infuriating. It can be infuriating if, especially a class that's hard to CC, like let's say a Guardian, you're fighting a Guardian as, I don't know, we'll just use Suck Hash, for example. I'm sitting there fighting the Guardian. They finally miss their grab, and I land a Purge or Dune Slash on them during the step back, and they resist it, and you're like, oh my god, I'm going to have to sit here and do this for another 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, for sure. That feeling is awful.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems like the ignore resist stuff is all they want us to do. My personal problem with the way they've been doing it so far is that like adamantines give you 50% when you have 2 crystals, and my offhand crystals only give me 20% with 2 crystals, and I have to sacrifice, 22% critical hit damage and 4 AP, which is a lot on a lot of classes. So I feel like we don't, even for them giving us like crystal options to deal with it, it's like they're just like at a loss, like a huge loss. I'm running the ignore float resist crystals because I hate being resisted during re-CC so much on Kuno and Hash and just whatever I play. So it's like, but I definitely noticed the damage loss, you know? Anyway, so let's go to something positive. Let's start with you, Nusar. Yeah, resistor just they make me so upset. I can't believe it hasn't been changed. But Nusar, what are some of the good things that got added to this Archer rework that you actually are excited about, and maybe some of the archers don't realize are actually like pretty cool stuff that they may have overlooked?
There are a few major ones that I think pretty much I wouldn't say most archers know about. There's the new skill, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, really strong. It's spam ball on cooldown, obviously does less damage. You don't really have too much recoil on it, but it's similar to Light's Trail. It does good damage and has good range and is pretty quick. They added an extension to Full Bloom in which you can choose to either have the point blank Full Bloom rule used to, or a long ranged one, and you lose that damage up close. And there is split damage on that. Those are two major ones. Another major change being Piercing Light. They made it so you only need one full charge.
Hold on real quick. Is there split damage on that? Because I double checked that. I don't see any split damage text on Full Bloom or on the passive.
Is there not?
No. It has the normal
testing.
It has the normal PvP damage reduction, but it doesn't mention anywhere on it that it's split. It works exactly like Full Bloom.
Because I remember in testing we were getting some. Maybe that could be wrong.
Yeah, the new skill SQ has split damage, but the Full Bloom passive does not. At least it's not in the tooltip.
Yep, we'll have to test that more then. I just remember. Piercing Light, they made it so you only have to charge it once for it to get the full effect.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also nullify all recoil by continuing to hold E during the cast, or just as you shoot it, I think, which is really nice for siege archers specifically, being able to sit on a wall and not get, not fall 3 stories down, get stuck in a flame tower for trying to do any damage.
Oh, it doesn't knock you back anymore?
Yeah, you can negate that, which is really nice.
So nice.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
And that also proves to us that they have the tools available to enable us to prevent recoil, which was a worry at first. So now that they've displayed they can do it, we're hopeful that they can apply that to a few more skills.
Can we have a brief I actually had a discussion with a different archer about this, and I want to get your opinion and Heedun's opinion on this with the recoil, because while I totally understand why you guys want the recoil and you want it removed, and maybe it should be removed, but my fear with the recoil being removed is that it enables players to hop on top of something that's extremely difficult to get to, stay only there, and just fire down completely uncontested. Do you think that that's an issue, or that doesn't outweigh the problem with the recoil? Because might
as well tag a ranger, hey?
Well,
some
exactly.
Can already do it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
But yeah, I mean, some can do it. Do we want more of that? I don't know.
To keep it balanced, not that much. It would be nice on maybe with general balance in mind.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice on maybe one more skill to have it at tops. But going into that, we did get a buff to a skill called Storm of Light. An underdog of a skill in Pre-Awakening that was pretty useless before, but a lot of people still like to use it.
Okay.
It's pretty much a machine gun kind of thing with the crossbow.
Yeah.
And you get super armor during the cast now. It's a lot faster and does a lot more damage, especially with back attacks. And no recoil. So that is a really good skill now, in my opinion, and a lot of archers' opinions, that not everyone would know about. Another few good ones.
That's the one where you charge it up and it's just like beep, 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 right? Like it's like shooting laser beams.
It roots you in place and you just launch like 10 arrows at them.
That one's not super long range, is it? It's kind of mid range.
No, it's sort of mid.
Okay.
Mid range. but it's good to have some stationary damage that's consistent now.
Yeah.
There. Another good one, big good one. There's just been some damage buffs as well. 30% more damage to Righteous Smite because they added some more hits. Reducing the cooldown on NSA, Nature Shattering Arrow, which is our best and only very useful Rabalm. The others are very niche. So that's a really nice overall damage buff with that cooldown reduction. Also, almost forgot to mention, I'm very tired, my bad.
No
you
worries.
can now use Breeze and Uproot directly from Crossbow, which
Right.
is an absolutely insane change. Being able to Uproot at any time to, especially if you have core Uproot, to get that super armor and big damage in is crazy good, especially after like a piercing cry. And Breeze used to be able to do it from pre-awakening with some weird janky hotbar trick, but being able to switch in between awakening and pre-awakening even better now
Right.
is really quite insane.
Does that change the core that you'd use? Like, does that make Uproot like?
Oh yeah, I think I would switch to Uproot now.
Okay.
Like that's also considering the other classes getting more super armors and stuff. The reason I and some archers used the core Radiant was it was a really nice, well, it was a bound, didn't add any protection wise, but it was really nice for large scale specifically, or in 1vx situations, to maybe catch out a few people and really assist you in that fight and assist others. But with being able to use Uproot at any time now, pretty much in the kit, no matter what you're doing, unless you're animation locked, I think Uproot core is going to be the way to go most of the time now.
How do you feel overall about that? Is there a situation for you where you wouldn't take that new full bloom passive to make it range? So can I try to explain exactly how it works? Because the way I understood it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is essentially, so full bloom does its damage times X or times 1, and it has 2 shots, and it shoots 7 different arrows, and if you're point blank, all 7 of those arrows are going to deal their damage, the normal full bloom. With the new version, instead of it doing times 7 on all of those shots, it instead does each individual arrow is now hitting 5 times. So it's essentially whatever percentage reduction that would be from 7 hits to 5, but now you can do it at max range or whatever, like any range you want. Does that sound correct? Like that's essentially how the new version works?
That's pretty much it. The first part, just about how it's the damage from the 7 arrows, I think it's just the range point blank with you. That is where that damage buff is. It's not the arrows specifically doing that damage combined.
Okay.
But the range, yes, you lose a bit. I guess it would be a bit of damage, quite a bit of damage, but you get a lot of long range damage instead.
Right.
And I feel like if you're at a point where you don't need full bloom to kill most people, where especially in large scale, if you're able to kill people with Uproot Radiant, Bolt of Radiance, stuff like that, then I think the ranged full bloom is probably the way to go for an extra, pop at range.
Yeah.
I think in most situations. But if you've got less gear and you need full bloom to kill people in 1v1 specifically, maybe a lot more, then I think the melee range would benefit you a lot more.
Someone was asking me about the full bloom core yesterday, if they changed how long the duration of the frontal guard is. Did that get changed? Because I don't think it was in the notes at all. Did you test that?
I'm
by chance?
unsure. I didn't test that. No, I didn't test that.
Heedun, some of the Sorc stuff I could go to, because I want to talk about PvE, but I want to get to that after. Let me get some of the Sorc changes for you, Heedun, that you feel like are actually really good. And maybe some of the ones that you feel like other Sorcs aren't realizing how much of a difference it might actually make.
Okay.
And I know you're mostly focused on Awakening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play Succession when it came out, when it was really, really broken. And when it got nerfed, suddenly didn't feel as passionate about it anymore. So I went back to Awakening. But overall, like Succession, always been the it's a different class. It's a completely different class. It completely changes the way you play. Sorc is a very reactionary class, and Succession is just full aggro, the way I see it at least.
Right.
The good things about, I mean, mostly Awakening, as you said. I would say, well, they added damage pretty much to a lot of skills, Judgment, TBS, and I think Dead Hunt got an extra hit,
Yeah.
which we already had in PvE, now we have in PvP too. Well, there's some things that I don't know if they're even intended, like Blade of Darkness not having shards cost.
Mhm.
That is a bit weird. Like,
Yeah.
it's really strong because Blade is an incredibly strong skill, and not having any restriction to use it. Okay, so
On the
it's a bit bizarre.
On the disc spawn and the throw, right? There's no shard cost on either.
Exactly, it's just free. You just cast it for free. I think the biggest thing is the Rushing Crow frontal.
Yeah.
That's Sorc needs mobility. Like, we need mobility the most, and Rushing Crow frontal. It's not the best thing, but it helps a bit. And it's the same for the jump iframe. I've been calling it jump iframe since day one. It never was an actual iframe, but now it is a jump iframe. So we got that going for us. And I guess just Vile Plan is also like the block plus Vile Plan. That deals a fuck ton of damage, and it could be like an answer to like just damage in blobs, which we honestly didn't really lack. I think Sorc lacked frontal guards on, like, frontal guard
Damage.
blob damage, or just damage in general. Because we have damage obviously with the Say and Karshan and Judgment, all of that, but it's a bit lacking on the frontal. And I think the fact that we have Rushing Crow frontal, block and Vile Plan buffed, I think this is gonna shift a bit the playstyle of the class. I think people are gonna start playing Viocore a lot more.
Oh, okay.
Um,
You think so? With that new
yeah.
Grim damage, though?
I think Grim Core is incredibly overrated. I use it very often in group fights. Almost every single group fight I use Grim Core, but I think it's very overrated. It's the way I see it's actually almost useless in most 1v1 matchups, and I think it's just the lazy version of playing Sorc. You play that and you don't think what you're doing. You just rotate your stuff, and maybe sometimes you land something, or you just outgear if that's the way you play it. So I think I've already been using any other core for almost every other matchup. I think I only use Grim in like the Tamer 1v1 because fuck Tamer.
Yeah.
And it's very few matchups I use Grim core. I think the Vio playstyle is gonna be legit. It's gonna actually be legit, especially if they don't give us more ways to deal with frontal guards. Like not frontal guards, sorry, with the SA classes, perma, SA, and block classes.
Yeah. How much additional damage is that, Grim? Because like the way I understood it, so it used to have one less hit in PvP. So when it was fully charged, it was 1950 times 6, and in PvP was 1950 times 5. So now they added one additional hit to the skill, so it's 1950 times 7, and then the PvP hit reduction got removed. So it essentially has 2 more hits in PvP, right? I believe.
Yeah, when it comes to damage in global, I think should always be taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Not because global isn't a realistic representation, but because it's almost never 1-to-1. Some things are missing in global. Like the
PvP
crit,
damage reduction sometimes is not in too.
There's something. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are missing, right? So like to see the proper damage difference, we should compare the damage that it did before on global to what it deals now, which is obviously something we cannot really do anymore.
Yeah, I always use ghost claws.
But the damage was always there. Like that's what I said earlier as well. Like Sorc has a lot of damage. We just don't have ways to apply it. and with ways to apply. I mean, it's a bit maybe vague. I mean, we have a lot of KDs. Most of our CCs are bounds and KDs, which obviously get resisted 60% of the time nowadays. And the mobility is incredibly limited. We are one of the slowest classes. So when, like, sometimes it's even hard to follow up our own CCs. If you land a DoD long distance and, the KD lands, it's not always doable to follow up to that. So it's, even if the fights in BDO right now move way too fast, like with Nova, Sage, and like honestly every other class almost, like Warrior is incredibly fast. So all these fights moving up super quickly around the field, Sorc cannot keep up. So when someone gets on the ground or when it's time to do damage, you're not there to do damage. And I think they're trying to answer it a little bit, especially with the Karshan Nightmare essay dash thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, like, it's a buff in theory. It's not that great, ironically, because, well, first of all, it's essay. I'm not asking for an iframe, but essay means it doesn't solve the issue that you're gonna get grabbed into it. We know how grabs work, even you get grabbed even if you iframe. So essay is just insta grab, no matter what, even if you dash.
So,
and it's the wind up. The wind up is super long.
Right. The thing is, though, since now that Nitro doesn't have a cooldown, if you go into Karshans, there's no limit to get out with your iframe.
That's just a super minor quality of life. You could spam iframe even before with the absolute.
No, I mean specifically in Karshans. Or could you cancel You couldn't cancel Karshans with
you could
absolute,
cancel.
could you?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I didn't know
you could iframe out of it.
No. Sorry. I know you could iframe out of it, but if the iframe was on, like, so for example, if I iframed and then went into Karshans, like, you still had to adhere to that 1 second cooldown. Like, now you can literally instant cancel.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
You are correct. I guess it's something that Sorcs got used to do, like never iframe before casting Karshan. So you're correct. No, that's actually true. That's it's a very small quality of life still. Because if you're casting Karshan and you have to iframe right as you cast it, it means you shouldn't have casted it to begin with. But yeah,
I actually think the sleeper buff on that skill is the fact that when you do the iframe or the super armor little scoot, that it completely instantly repositions which direction you're shooting instead of the slow turn. So, like, if, for example, you do miss on Karshans, like, let's say someone gets knocked down in front of you in, like, a group fight, and you want to reposition and get that directly on someone, and they move to behind you, now you instantly can turn the damage instead of, like, slow turning it around and not actually getting the damage off.
I think it's too slow. I think the wind-up animation is too slow, and it might be still faster to rotate. It's
Really?
very slow. It's very, very slow.
You could go, I don't know, you could go full 180 degrees. Like,
if we're talking about 180, sure.
Yeah.
But I still feel like it's too slow.
I see.
Overall.
What about the accuracy buff that you guys got on Eruption on cast? Moving it off of scattering, removing scattering entirely. Is that in a better spot?
Removing scattering is a mistake. Like, there's no reason to remove scattering. No, I mean, it's nice to have it on Shadow Eruption. It would have been nice to have them on both.
Yeah,
but I don't like it. It's good. It's good to have it on Shadow Eruption. It's just not that great because we lost scattering, which was just better. There was also another kind of trick to maximize the damage, which was hard casting scattering and waiting for the float from scattering and then doing Shadow Eruption to apply the air attack on Shadow Eruption. Because if you only get the first part of scattering, then you only get the accuracy buff and not the float. So Shadow Eruption floats and does an air attack.
Right.
So it's less damage. We lost some damage on the potential max DPS combo.
So they damage buffed turn back for PvP only by adding 2 hits. Obviously, again, we can't, like, I don't know, Global Labs tests, I'm with you. Like, they're always kind of weird. Like, I remember Ninja's Ghost Claw. Remember the new Rabomb that was like 70% healthing people that had 400 DP. They made no changes to it. It came to live server and it was like, oh wait, this doesn't do any damage. So you never know.
Missing some stuff.
Yeah, it's missing some weird stuff. But I don't know. Turnback got a little bit of a damage buff. What's the deal with the block jump thing? Because I don't know. And when I was testing it out, I don't see any actual practical use for it except for maybe just like style combos.
No, the skill makes sense. It's a cool skill. I don't think it has the effect that they want it to have. I don't think it's actually like the way I see it. It's maybe the intention was to have that as an answer to people sitting in frontal, which doesn't obviously do anything. Because first of all, you need to do an unprotected kick before using it, and then also the skills like it's fully unprotected. And it's a KD, so it's kind of shit if that's the intention. I did find a decent use to it, which is you know how warriors like do the first CC and then they stiffen into the follow-up CC to maximize the DPS.
Yeah,
I think that's the best use of the skill currently. So you land the first CC. Then let's say first CC is TBS or Shadow Ignition would be optimal. Then you follow up with some filler damage. You go in with that. As the opponent is getting up, you cast the Stiffen. Then Shadow Riot procs in right away. And you can do Shadow Eruption instantly. It flows actually very well. It's quite easy as well. I think it's just pressing... Yeah, you press F and then you press Shift right off of it. So it's Stiffen KD float. So if the opponent resists the KD, you have the float right away. And if it doesn't, you have Shadow Eruption applying air damage because it's right after the KD. So it's actually not bad. Like it's for that specific use, it's actually pretty good. But it's a very niche use, which is still good. I mean, I'm not complaining.
You know, it's interesting.
I wish you had a frontal guard.
I don't even know how many people realize this, but the succession version of the Shadow Riot teleport thing does not require you to hit a target if you use it after beat kick. It just does like the little teleport thing, like you can just do it in place with no one in front of you. I don't know exactly what the point is though, because it doesn't.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so like if you go like Crow Flare beat kick and continue and then hold Shift F, it'll do the teleport thingy, like flip you behind, but with no target, but it doesn't like move you anywhere. Is the weird thing.
So it just turns you 180.
Yeah, it just turns you 180.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like, because that would be an interesting. That would be an interesting Sorc, Suck Sorc like differentiation if they had like a teleport to a target. Would be kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
All right,
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're just promoting a.
I'm saying Succession, dude. I'm just saying on Succession maybe because you do have to.
I don't think I agree with that either.
I'm just.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm down for the Sorc block jump. TBH.
Like I already have enough PTSD from fucking getting block jumped by, 4 classes.
I don't think Sorc having a block jump isn't a big deal, especially if it's melee. Like we can already Ista iframe into Ista CC in the back. Like this doesn't change anything. If anything, this is fully unprotected into the worst. I mean, it's not okay. KD is not the worst CC in the game, but it's a special CC. it's a 40% chance CC.
So
it's not a big deal.
I want to talk a little bit about PvE, Nusar. If we could start with you. So I'm gonna just remind everyone that 3 weeks ago when the Ranger Warrior patch came out, they had the one little bullet point that Archer now has back attacks. So
Yes.
that's obviously a PvE buff. And then you also have just damage buffs kind of across the board, speed ups, pre-awakened damage buffs, awakened damage buffs. Do you think that with the change that you've seen on Global Labs that the PvE on Archer will actually be decent?
Insane, even. Like the back attacks on the full bloom alone just obliterate mobs.
So would you be
Like,
using the new full
yeah.
bloom in PvE or the other one? 'Cause I wonder if you'd be hitting more targets.
I'm not sure. Just an update on the split damage thing. It is split damage, it's just not on the tooltip.
It's not on the tooltip. Okay.
Yep.
Do you- I assume by
I'm
down to
unsure.
70%.
It's probably the same.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I would test it out. I haven't personally done. I've only watched people do PvE testing. I think I would probably go with the melee full bloom for spots like Red Orcs,
hmm
where everything's a lot more like tight knit. But for maybe spots like Turos, I'd probably could go with ranged. But the back attacks alone just make everything do so much more damage. Is really nice, and being able to get between awakening and pre-awakening much quicker. I think archer grinding is going to be much better now.
Is it going to be a sweaty grind, do you think?
It's going to be less sweaty, I think, but it's still going to be relatively sweaty. There's still all the pre you have to worry about in PvE, like your ranged AP buff from RMB, which is Light's Path, Ensnare, Wrath of Nature, and then whatever add-ons before killing a pack, but it's going to be a lot more efficient.
Did he turn into a transformer in the middle of that for anyone else?
For a moment,
split
yeah.
second, yeah, and then it
Okay, yeah,
itself.
go. I was just making sure it wasn't me.
Sorry
That's
about
exactly how you sounded earlier, Frosty.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
archer things.
that. I'm just
Archer
upside down.
Yeah, because like I mean that's the thing. I don't know. I'm sitting here as a Kuno player that can't. I feel like I can't even play Kuno anymore because it's just I'm mostly just large scale and PVE. So I'm like, you know, Kuno's just not it for those things. And I'm looking at the archer buffs and I'm like, dude, Kuno might actually be good at PVE because like the PVE buffs on every class have been kind of huge.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that those classes that obviously give carpal tunnel will actually be a lot better at grinding.
Have you seen any negative feedback as far as Archer and PvE with the changes? Like people that think it won't make a difference?
I haven't seen much feedback in PvE other than positive stuff so far. It's just probably been majorly overshadowed by the amount of people disappointed that they didn't change our passive or give us ranged accuracy, etc., or reduce split damage. But I think generally this is just all around positive for PvE specifically so far.
Right. I want to talk for a second about that attack speed buff that you guys got on what is that skill called? The flow to F.
Light's Path?
Yeah.
Light's Trail.
Light's Trail, yeah. How do you feel about that? Because that, I mean, a 10% attack speed buff is a lot when you didn't have anything before. But I know, again, like some archers complain about having a pre-buff a little bit. So what are your feelings on that change?
I think it's really nice because Righteous Smite can be annoying to get off, which is the flow after Light's Trail. It can be annoying to get off at long ranges against people if they resist a CC or whatever. So I think it's really nice. I haven't done much testing specifically with that though, so I haven't really played around with how it affects the kit in general. Do you know how long it is? I haven't got global.
10 seconds. 10% for 10 seconds.
10 seconds?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really good. That would really help with ranged comboing people. That's pretty huge then.
Yeah. What about you, Heedun? Is Sorc gonna be any different in PvE? Did like the Vial plan change or Soul Harvest?
Not really. Like Sorc damage in PvE is actually insane. It's one of the highest probably. The only things like preventing Sorc to pull the same numbers as, for example, Sage or Nova is the mobility from pack to pack, which hasn't really changed. So nothing changes. Like I'm actually faster with my Sorc. Like the kill speed is faster with my Sorc than with my Sage. But the difference is that Sage just zooms between packs.
Yeah. It was interesting too because they increased the attack range of Mark of Shadow. I do wonder if you'll be able to violation less because I was like messing around with going like
I don't use violation in PvE.
Oh, you don't use violation in PvE at all?
If you use violation, you're a gearlet.
Oh god. So
no, well, that's not true. But like you, like I don't even have that much AP. I'm 297 with Kutum, and I only use one violation at the end of the rotation.
Yeah. So if you go if you Vile Plan and Soul Harvest, I don't know if they did this before, but Vile Plan and Soul Harvest both cancel the start of Violation animation, so it actually feels really smooth going into Violation.
Valplan always did, I think. Maybe Soul Harvest too, but the skill was just too garbage to be used before. They also cancel. I mean, Soul Harvest also cancels the blade, but yeah. Then again, you don't really use Violation much in PvE anymore. Depends on the spot. If you grind the Ash Forest, you still use it, or Oluns, for example.
So, do you think Sorc needs more mobility? I know this one's like
for PvP,
touchy.
yes. For PvE, no. Like Sorc is really good in PvE. It's just unfortunate if you're from NA. You seem to have very bad representative for PvE on Sorc.
Yeah, you guys have JM, dude. Wait, so what would you add if you for PvP mobility? Like if you could add something.
My idea was either a double charge on what's it called on Shadow Lip, or maybe a flow on Shadow Lip, like using extra shards perhaps to cast it or to make it longer, or reducing the cooldown of Shadow Lip. The issue with, like, it's nice to have Rushing Crow frontal, but at the same time you don't close gaps faster necessarily. So maybe make Rushing Crow the same distance as it's on Succession, which is, it would leave Succession with even less. So Succession is a bit more love. But on Awakening, I do think we just need a lot more mobility. A lot more.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm like imagining Sorc. Like I could see Shadow, like maybe do something like Paradise Surge, like do like an unprotected version of Shadow Leap that you can use just for the distance.
That wouldn't help because you wouldn't be able to use it then.
That's not true. We use Paradise Surge all the time on Hash and large scale, and it has an 18-second cooldown, so like you can still just spam it, and it's like fine. I mean, you can use unprotected stuff. At least you're so spoiled with your protected movement. You think you can't use anything that's unprotected.
What?
Come on,
what
man.
Unprotected movement? What?
Yeah, I guess you don't even know what that is. You're not used to it.
No, what? Look, I'm asking you, what unprotected movement?
Well, I mean, I guess you guys just had Rushing Crow before.
We don't have anything.
Yeah.
It's just Shadow Leap.
But you can, yeah, I mean, like, you can use, I mean, like, look at, like, Fiery Angel or anything on different classes that's, like, unprotected, just as, like, a gap close. Or, I don't know, there's, like, situations where you could definitely use unprotected movement. I mean, Ninja Kun
we use
right?
unprotected movement all the time. Like, we use Rushing Crow currently. Like, we do Rushing Crow into... like you tilt the camera and iframe so that it cancels at the end into an iframe. We use Midnight Stinger. We already use unprotected mobility, but it's like it's a small bursts of mobility that doesn't really do much. What we need is to close, like to keep up with other classes. Like if a warrior decides to just run away, or I mean even wizards, witches, berserkers. I cannot think of a class that cannot outrun Sorc. Maybe Tamer.
What if you guys just got like a version of Target Chase? You can literally just hold shift forward and you recover stamina and move a little bit faster. We have kind of that with the Darkness release backwards cancel, but that doesn't recover stamina, and it's barely faster than... Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if that's actually faster than Target Chase running, but
yeah, exactly. This is what I mean. Like Sorc does not have mobility.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'm like half. I'm with you. I totally understand.
I'm not like some classes like, oh, we want full protected CC nukes, AoE grabs. Not like we don't have the skills. They do not exist. If I had an unprotected mobility, I would use it.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to ask, starting with Nusar, kind of about like the reworks in general. How do you think your reworks overall compared to the other classes that you've seen so far? As far as like, do you feel like Archer was left out? Do you think it got love? Because there's a lot of fear, I think, with a lot of people's classes. Like, I'll just say my own, and I think a lot of the Kuno community feels this way, is that there's not a whole lot of Kunos. I don't know how much feedback they're actually getting from Kunos. So I feel like whatever they're going to do is just going to be completely random. Whereas like some of the other classes have a lot of players and a lot of feedback to like vibe off of or use. Do you feel like the Archer reworks are comparable to the other reworks you've seen?
No, a lot of this is via proxy because I haven't looked an absurd amount into the other classes reworks. I know bits here and there. I know what people are calling busted and stuff. I know the points of contention being striker and warrior. And from what I've seen and what other people have said, the big opinion is, while the Archer rework so far, this phase of it is really good in retrospect, there's just a few things that need to be added to make it, a lot better. Compared to those big two hitters, striker and warrior, I see it's just a lot of people feel like we've been left in the dirt here a little bit.
Now,
I feel like, yeah.
I was gonna say, do you think that feeling is comparing it to 1v1s or to large scale? Because at least to me, if Archer came to the live server as it is, if you're fighting with a ball in a node war, I still think it would have more value than Striker would with Striker's current changes. Just speaking like large scale, like 50-man, 60-man, whatever, like high end like node wars. But 1v1s, our Striker looks kind of crazy. Although they did get one nerf this week. That was pretty important on the shard use with double flash.
Oh, was that the spamming dash thing?
Yeah, they're not a moose anymore.
Okay, thank God. Whew.
Rip, dude.
Had me worried.
Dead
yeah, I
class.
think a lot of that opinion is looking at what those changes have been and how those classes will fare in 1v1s. I think if Archer goes live right now, can contend to be one of the better large scale classes at the moment, in my opinion. Not on the scale of Sage or Nova, etc., but pretty high up there. These changes have generally been really nice for large scale and group fights. But yeah, 1v1s, I could definitely see where people are coming from when they say we've been left in the dirt a little bit, where Striker got these buffs that look
Insane.
disgusting
Yeah.
and absolutely insane, and we've just been given something that looks good. It's beggars can't be choosers, and I feel like we can't be nitpicking this much into comparing to other classes. I'm very subjective in looking at Archer in a vacuum.
Okay.
What are these reworks doing in a vacuum? In a vacuum with a few extra tweaks, like the passive and maybe a bit more ranged accuracy, this rework is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Now, comparing it to the other classes and upcoming potential reworks, that's where it gets a little bit iffy. And I've been reserving a bunch of judgment for later in the stages where more classes have had their reworks out and there's been more tweaks to where I can go, okay, Striker's, shard usage has been changed. So obviously that's not something I'm going to have to worry about as much.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to have a really strong opinion about how we'll fare versus the other reworks at the moment until they've been tweaked.
So just on Archers, I want to talk about two things. One, the new pre-awaken iframe, and then two, just in general, like, what do you think from the changes that you got help in 1v1, and what do you think specifically for 1v1 it still is lacking?
I had a quick question I wanted to ask while we're on the topic of judging the Archer rework, both in a vacuum and compared to other classes. I know you said that you're kind of withholding a little bit of judgment until we kind of see more of it, but we do already have kind of the Archer counter, I would say, or not counter, but counterpart rather, in Suck Ranger. I know you said that you only kind of know, you don't pay that much attention to that kind of stuff, but how do you feel like Archer's changes were compared to Suck Ranger with what you do know?
I think the dynamic of how the two classes are separated just stays the same. I feel like Archer will always have its niche in comparison to Ranger. Ranger will still be able to do a lot of things they do at the moment. I'm not 1,000,000% familiar with all the changes they got, just a few things to do with mobility, etc., etc.
Mhm.
But comparing it to Sorc Ranger, from what other people have said, we're kind of in the same boat. And I'm sort of on the same side as that from what I've seen. That the changes. Forgive me, this is veering off the question. What you specifically
No
wanted
worries.
to
No,
know,
go ahead, dude. Feel free to.
but comparatively, people are grouping Archer and Ranger in this sort of section where, oh, well, we've got our reworks, and they may be nice in some parts, some things may be bad, but why should we be, overshadowed so much by these other two classes, especially in their changes? So that's what I've been seeing.
Yeah. In fairness, everyone except for Striker feels that way. So
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I mean, well, like, because I've been trying to follow it really closely, and I do find it really interesting that basically everyone, not obviously there's like different people, but the people that are complaining the most, like you just see a large group of people in every single community that is really pissed. I think, for example, like Ranger, on the initial release, I was surprised that they were upset. And when I spoke to Flannels, he was very, very positive about the changes. I think on week 2, which was unfortunate that I didn't get a chance to talk to Flannels about it, but they removed the super armor on one of their new skills, which I think was horrible change.
Why?
Because one of the problems with Awakened Ranger is it didn't have protected damage. But then this week, they had really, really awesome changes. They reverted the super armor change, added it back to that skill, and they lowered the cooldown of EES. So it's like, this is why I think it's like almost like a waste of energy to be super pissed early on, because there's real changes happening on the follow-up weeks.
And they just get it bounced and adjusted to the other reworks at the same time as well. That's why I've been withholding a lot of this judgment, other than the inner vacuum kind of perspective.
Right. So just hypothetically speaking, if this came today, how do you think this fares in 1v1s? Do you think it changes any matchups? And also separately, how do you feel about that new little pre-awaken iframe slow debuff thing?
I'll get to the iframe first, so I don't forget. They changed the animation for Ragon Spirit and gave it a little bit of an iframe. Now, I'm sure some archers know that I love the skating playstyle popularized by Giho. Very good archer, by the way. And Ragon Spirit was a very useful tool for people using this playstyle to move around, and just kind of skate around. The animation change is a little annoying, I'm going to be honest, because we have to add an extra input or two to get the same results as before. Not a problem. Adds a little bit of survivability for doing that combo, which is really nice. And I still can't really see people using it outside of mobility during 1v1s, because there is that massive gap at the end and you can't really cancel it into anything too quickly. Quickest I would imagine would be Meteor Dive or Piercing Cry, but there's still that gap after the iframe. It's not long enough to make any meaningful difference, not distance. Gaping Darkness speed increase. I think it's nice, especially if you use, I know a lot of archers used mana regen or just PvE buffs on it in general for the PvE combo. I think it's good for that, but the Wrath of Nature thing might take a bit of getting used to, because you can't cancel it anymore. And now on to, what was the other part of the question, sorry?
Just kind of how you think it fares in 1v1 overall, if it came out today.
If we ignore the other reworks too, then I don't think any matchups change too much. I think we fare a bit better against classes that like to sit in queue and have a cup of tea while their minions do all the work for them, auto chess classes, just Nova, and classes with big blocks in general and a lot of super armors. I think the high potential for damage trading is really nice, especially with the flowing between Awakening and Pre-Awakening a lot easier. Another thing to mention on that, actually, you can use the new skill from Pre-Awakening as well to instantly get back to Awakening. Just found that out before.
Breeze? Or
No, to the new one. SQ.
oh, can you? So you just with the keybind,
Yeah.
or do you have to hotbar it?
Yeah, just the keybind. You can just go straight into
Oh,
Awakening, which
nice.
is crazy because you can flow into ranged combos from that. Really good poke. In 1v1s, I don't think many matchups change other than the shield classes. We've got more poke against that. I think the movement speed debuff on Meteor Dive is pretty nice for classes that like to, get into close and stay in close range. Though I don't know why it's movement speed debuff and not attack speed, but it's less of an issue.
So counter
Yeah,
mooses,
I don't
dude.
think much changes.
All the oppressing mooses and Meos out there, it helps counter them.
I just feel bad for Mooses and Mayweather. You just kind of let them get in 1 or 2 rounds.
Dude, I don't understand. I also am like, all right, so I like the little iframe scoot thing. I don't think it needs the whole like end punch and the slow debuff. Like it probably should just be a whole iframe, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think it should move forward. I like how it used to move sideways, and sure, for the slowness and trying to actually hit someone with it, it wasn't good for that purpose. But people didn't use it for that purpose, and we didn't want to use it for that purpose.
Mm-hmm.
They see it as one of those unused skills in that category, I guess, and wanted to try and make it more viable, but it's just not going to make a meaningful difference, unless it has a longer iframe, no gap, or they just made it so it moves the same as it used to. Personally,
yeah. Heedun, what do you think is going to be your new skill next week? What are you expecting?
Grab.
Oh my god.
Oh
No.
Lord.
I'm kidding.
A block jump one too. Might as well. Let's just go the whole way.
Yeah, dude. 360 super armor block with a block jump and a grab, dude.
I wanted to have a zero frame.
I don't think Sorc needs a grab. I mean, it could be anything. Really. Obviously, like if it's one of the two things that that fixes, either mobility or way to deal against CC resistances, or I guess against blocks, SA blocks. Like any of these three things, if it addresses one of these three things, I think it's perfect.
One of the things that I heard a lot going into this, and I don't know if you guys heard this too, but because Corsair was coming out right as the reworks are like being announced, so a lot of people are like, oh, okay, that makes sense. All these non-grab classes are either going to get a grab in the reworks or they're going to get block break. Were you expecting that, and or are you disappointed
100%.
that it didn't come?
Yes and yes. I do think we should get block flat block damage or the regeneration thing. I think block damage makes more sense. It's more in tune with the Sorc.
I'm in the same boat.
I guess style archetype. So I would like something like that, because it shouldn't be like sitting in block and like taking your hands off the keyboard should not be a viable playstyle. And it sucks that it works against Sorc.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Desik, like on Desik in chat saying block break would on every class would be oppressive in large scale. Like if so, I like the idea for it for Sorc and Archer in like, hey, it's me versus you in battle arena. But like if everybody has it, especially if it's like on ranged abilities, I mean basically no one's gonna have a block, including the classes that are not SA block classes.
Depends on where you put it. If it's like in a skill that is specifically for 1v1, and because of course if we're talking about Corsair, you have these massive AoEs with whales and shit and dolphins flying out of the sky. But if you put it on a Sorc skill like that is single target, like melee range, I don't think that would be an issue, right?
Like engulfing
for
or
the general
something?
state. That's even too big. Like I'm thinking.
Crow
what am I
flare?
thinking? I don't know.
You're just gonna throw out a crow flare?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly wanted the crow flare, which, okay, hear me out. Okay, I've already said this a couple of times. Giga brain idea. So you see how Crowflare, like it's a twirl, you spin, right? What if you use Crowflare as a counter grab? So when people grab you, you use Crowflare, you grab the person's arm and you twist it, and it grabs the grabber. It's brilliant, right? It's a brilliant idea.
What were you gonna say, Reslar? I can't with that
I was
idea.
just gonna say I understand the desire for block break mechanics, and I agree that there's definitely at least some classes, maybe not all, but there's definitely some classes that need it. It would definitely need to be tuned down if you were gonna put it on all classes that don't have a grab. But like, I feel like the block break mechanic. First of all, I hate the no regen thing. I
Yeah,
feel like
that
that just
one
needs to go.
Can't happen.
Which we've talked about that a bunch before, so I won't go too much into that. But I also feel like the block break thing should be like tied to your damage in some way instead of just a flat amount. And then at that point, you could also tie it to split damage so that it wouldn't be as bad in like large scale theoretically, right?
Wait, what was the
So
last
that
part?
it deactivates the
So
block damage.
you
if they
tie
hit
it to
multiple?
your damage somehow. So
Mhm.
instead of just being a flat 20%, so if 5 people hit you with this skill that does 20%, you have no block. You tie it to your damage, and then you also give it split damage, so that if you're in the middle of a ball and you're getting hit with a bunch of skills that reduce your block, it's only going to be taking down like maybe 1%, 2%,
Right.
plus
okay.
the damage of the skill itself, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I see. So it affect 1v1 a lot more.
It would be super effective in 1v1 theoretically, but not as effective in large scale.
So
Assuming you're playing inside the ball.
Here's my experience with the block break thing. The reason why I'm not super into the idea is, one, I think it is crazy for large scale, and maybe that would help mitigate it a little bit. But two, like if I'm on a Corsair, so I was testing this out. There's some classes like Valk where they literally can't move if their block is at 0. So in those situations, it's like really oppressive. But when I'm on a Sorc against a Guardian, it's not just his block that makes it impossible for a Sorc to CC the Guardian. It's also the fact that they're an SA. And when I was testing out Corsair versus Guardian, like it didn't matter that his block was broken in that matchup at all, because he still was in SA and he still is regenerating health when he hits me with God Incinerator, or he still can iframe out and he still eventually like comes back over time. Like it didn't actually really even help the matchup. I'm not sure exactly what would. It's a really tough thing. I think I don't know if I've talked to you, Nusar, or Kyriem about, or Heedun about this, but Kyriem had a really cool idea that I talked about with him a while back, where he thinks there needs to be some sort of resource. You could do it in like a bunch of different ways, but either if a player is in super armor block, after a couple seconds the super armor falls off, or after a second or two it starts draining stamina instead of recovering, or it locks their stamina, or something along those lines, like some sort of resource that makes it that they don't get to recover all their cooldowns, stamina, and in a lot of cases their health during that. More so, I feel like that would be more helpful than just giving everyone block breaks.
I very much agree with that, but I doubt they would do anything like that to
Yeah.
all the classes.
Yeah.
It's like there are a list of ideal things that could happen. One of them being removing resistances.
Yeah, it's the
But-
same argument, right? It's
yeah,
a broken.
lot of these things are just not.
Like we can
yeah.
even talk about grabs. Like I don't think grabs should be in the game. Of course, the Sorc says it, right? But I think grabs are very toxic in video.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
shouldn't.
I feel the same way about Sorcs. I don't think Sorcs should be in the game. Very, very toxic.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm open to that discussion. Like I love BDO. Like I'm not necessarily married to my class. Like I can see myself playing other things because the combat is amazing, you know, regardless of the class. Of course, I prefer Sorc because that's what I've been playing since forever. But there are some things that are just, I think, just wrong. Like one click button with the grab that you can follow up a combo. Like even comparing it to fighting games, you cannot combo after a grab in fighting games.
If you're gonna be able to counter grab, let's go back to that real quick because I want to talk about this. The counter grab argument. If you're gonna get a counter grab on Sorc, can we at least throw the Beyblade back at you?
With a kick, yeah.
Because that shit is so annoying.
With cleansing flame, with Guardian, like with a bong sound.
Yeah,
Fuck
That
it,
would be
add
cool.
a
That
Beyblade
would be
mini
cool.
game to BDO.
I mean,
That's something I miss from Guild Wars, like the projectile thing.
yeah, like a deflection. I like the idea of a parry that, I mean, I don't know. I see it always gets taken to the extreme that, like, if there's a parry, then the person that threw the grab is the one that gets CC'd. But I actually wouldn't mind like a parry where both players are just, it pushes them back away from each other, almost as like now the grab's on cooldown. I still think, because obviously they're probably not going to change systems similar to the resist and similar to the block thing. I think it would be a huge weight off of everyone's shoulders if they just increased cooldowns of grabs by a significant amount, and every single grab had an opening if it failed.
Agreed.
Like, just the amount of frustration that would be relieved throughout most of the community if a pure melee grab was like a 15 or a 20 second cooldown, and then any of the range grabs were 20, 25 seconds. Would just be like, it would give every class that doesn't have a grab or that relies on super armor or whatever a chance to be aggressive and keep track of a cooldown, whereas like 7 seconds to me is so insane that any grab in this game is 7 seconds with how fast the game is. It like actually kind of blows my mind. I don't know.
You don't like spending most of the time on the ground?
Well, it's like, dude, the thing is that is funny is the amount of times that I get grabbed by someone, and then as I get out of their combo, I get grabbed by them again. Like the same exact grab.
That's a classic.
I'm just like, I cannot believe that that's an actual thing. I don't know. So I think that it would feel a lot less oppressive and people would be a lot less frustrated, and you'd see the grab desync happen way less often, and getting grabbed out of your protections way less often if the cooldowns were just dramatically increased, so they just weren't happening as often. You had time to play around them. I don't know. It's just, and I honestly think that that's a really simple fix, and I was hoping with the reworks that maybe something like that would happen, and then they lowered the cooldown of warrior grab, and then I lost all hope.
Hey, surely they increased those cooldowns all at once right before reworks, Copium.
And alternatively, you could make grabs only work on essays, not on frontals.
Yeah. Or like it would
right now,
you'd have to go behind the frontal, right? Like ideally to get the grab off.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now grabs not only work in every type of protection, but most of the time in iframes too.
Yeah, that'd be a big fat Sorc buff, the one class that has ways to deal with grab,
And then we'd also have more people complaining about resistances because they won't have a grab every 3 seconds.
It's not just about it's not just about me being a Sorc. Like I've played
I know
grab classes. Like when I play Sage, it's insane. Like the way your mind switches when you have a grab and when you don't. When you don't have a grab, you have to either like play according to the way your opponent plays, which is normal. It's the right way of playing it, and hit the openings. Or win the trades. But when you have a grab, like most of the time you can just like wait for one open, like one, just easy grab potential and go for off from it. Which
I only point out the Sorc because like Sorc and Ninja, Awakened Sorc specifically, and Awakened Ninja are like really equipped to deal with, like more so than other classes. They're pretty equipped to deal with grabs. Plus they also get to rotate frontal guards like indefinitely while still keeping up their mobility and stuff. I mean, some classes, I don't know, it just I don't mind that idea as well. I still think it'd be just really simple to just make the cooldown super long. It's just super long. It's like, I don't know, like even like I stop and think sometimes. I know it's kind of dumb and foolish to compare skills, but I'm just like, dude, like Heart Snatch is a 30-second cooldown, and this dude's super armor grab is 7-second cooldown. It's just like, oh my god. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The grabs are oppressive. I don't know if they'll ever do anything. I'm not really sure what
I don't think they're willing to change core mechanics of the game anymore. They almost killed the game when they changed the CC system, and I don't see them doing something even remotely similar ever again. So what I see, like the pattern that I see with these new class buffs, or reboot or whatever you want to call them, is that the they want to just buff classes, right? Like the Dota balancing technique. If every class is broken, then the game is just balanced, which is maybe not even wrong. Like I don't think you can balance BDO, right? Like realistically, I don't think anyone should expect BDO to be balanced because it never will. It never was, and it's not gonna happen.
Yeah. Nusar, are you guys disappointed that Archer did not get Succession? I know there were some archers that actually thought that the rework might bring Succession. Were you expecting that, or are you disappointed by that?
What do you mean? All you have to do is take off your awakening weapon. I do that all the time.
True. True.
Yeah, I see people complaining that we didn't get Fletcher like Mobile has. And that really cool skill, Circle of Thorns. Just for the sake of having it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me at all. I think they made Awakening and Pre-Awakening flow even easier and better together by so much, with those 3 changes specifically being Uproot from Pre-Awakening, Breeze from Pre-Awakening, and the new skill from Pre-Awakening. I just think it's unnecessary. The class is pretty much 2 kits melded together.
Yeah.
And I think it's wonderful.
Nusar, help me. Which one is Breeze again?
It's the new one. The, yeah.
Mountain Breeze. It's the iframe into super armor forwards.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, got it.
Forward
yes.
off,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I haven't played Archer in a while, so I'm trying to recall.
That's understandable. Most people have.
Wait, Rez, how do you feel about the Archer changes, being a former Archer yourself?
I think they look pretty good. I definitely can understand why archers are kind of like side-eyeing them and being like, come on, like we wanted like 1 or 2 things and you gave us all this other stuff, which is nice, but it's like, dude, come on. But yeah, like I'm definitely, I don't know, I'm thinking about like post rework giving it another try, giving it a tag and trying it out for a while, because I mean I played Archer, I've played it twice. I think the first time was for like 7 or 8 months. The second time was for like 5 months. So a little over a year I put in Archer. And I definitely enjoyed it. So I'm pretty excited about the rework, honestly.
That's great. With Archer especially, you'll never get a class that flows better.
Oh,
and you cannot change my mind.
Excuse me?
It is. You just cannot. It's impossible. Like, a lot of people that play Archer still mainly do it because of the movement and how everything flows together. It's just hard to play something else. Everything feels clunky in comparison.
Yeah, and listen, I'm biased because I play Zerker, quite possibly the clunkiest class in this game. But in my honest opinion, Archer might be like the most well-designed class in the game, just in terms of how everything flows together, how it works. It has very clearly defined strengths and weaknesses. I don't know. It's just a really damn well-designed class.
I agree with you. If it weren't for certain like metas and stuff coming up, like resistances and adamantines and stuff like that, then I think Archer would just still be in a very well-rounded place. And Archers can already perform extremely well with these current issues. Shoju's a living example. But it's, yeah, I agree with you. It's pretty well balanced by itself. It's just surrounded by completely unbalanced messes and a TFT auto chess class.
Heedun, do you disagree with the?
I mean, obviously, Sorc is obviously superior in terms of flow, but Archer is cool.
Dude, like purely speaking, flow wise, I actually think Sorc and Awaken Hash are up there. Like, it feels like everything is super intuitive the way the two classes pre-Awaken and Awaken flows together, like really seamlessly. It takes a lot to learn, but like everything like goes together. It feels like really, really smooth when you've learned it compared to some of the other classes.
It's not like Succession and Awakening, pre-Awakening and Awakening. It's just one kit.
Yeah, it's not. Well, that's the thing too. I mean, you do see swap on Sorc, obviously, but it like feels like the way it swaps into turnback, it just feels like you're using another skill, or I don't know. That's how it feels on Hash too. Like you really don't even see swap that much. So what about the animation? So I think that's one of the reasons why we probably didn't get a trailer for Sorc and Archer. The animations aren't dramatically different. Obviously, Archer's 2 new skills have fancier animations. Were there any other animations that got dramatic changes, Nusar, for Archer?
Other than Ragon's Spirit, Doesn't look like it. The piercing light, no recoil thing, I guess you could count as an animation change because you don't move back 300 miles.
Yeah.
But other than that, not really. Everything looks pretty much the same. Actually, Arrow Explosion got a massive AoE increase. Forgot to mention earlier.
Yeah.
That's the pre-awakening shift F.
Yeah.
The split damage is still the same. I don't recall if they changed anything about the damage.
They did. They
but
gave
the
it,
AoE is just massive.
They gave it to. I believe they gave it 2 additional hits in PvP and PvE.
Okay, that's good. That's especially good for PvE pulling then, because Archers already used that to PvE pull because it had, I think it was either a T2 or T3 add-on for monster damage, so people would pull, especially Star's End, with that shift F.
Mhm.
And with this AoE being much bigger, it's going to be even better for that.
Yeah. How much did they change your bombs? I know they changed the cooldown on 1 and made one of your bombs like a 1 hit. Are those things that'll make you choose those bombs or change your bomb style or choice?
Realistically, the only Rabomb that makes a meaningful impact in Archer gameplay is Nature Shattering Arrow, and them reducing the cooldown on that was really big because it was already what probably might get a few angry people saying this, but I think it was Archer's best skill when they fixed Nature Shattering Arrow. Being that easy hotbarable, use from pre-awakening or awakening, just constant pressing damage, and you can just do anything out of it. It was really nice.
Yeah.
So that cooldown reduction is really big. But the other two, I don't even worry about. They're very, very, very niche and not even worth looking into the changes at the moment.
Yeah. Heedun, how'd you feel about your animations? No, they changed Dream of Doom, Vile Plan.
Oh yeah. DoD is like larger, the animation, not the actual skill.
Yeah.
I don't think they actually changed Vile Plan, did they?
No, they did that. Well, they extended out the hit animation, so it's like longer purple that goes out kind of further. They enlarged it. And then they also randomly added a purple flare to the scythe while it's spinning during Violation. I don't know if you noticed it. It's kind of subtle, but new. I don't know. It's like a circle. Yeah, it's like so random. But everything else I think looks the same.
Yeah.
Which is probably why you didn't get a trailer. People would be like, "Wait, what's different?" Dude, the Dream of Doom animation does look really cool, though. I think it looks super cool. Did they change your 100%?
No, it's actually kind of sucks. I think they should probably swap the black hole with the Judgment. I think it would make a lot of people happy.
I forgot. I completely forgot to test it, but someone said that they changed the knockdown to the start of black hole instead of the end. So it's like right.
He always was at the start.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Was it just like the hit is a knockdown, and then when it explodes at the end is a knockdown too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's too bad, man. Well, maybe
no one has used the black hole in 3 years. So.
Maybe your new skill will have a fancy new animation. I mean, Soul Reaper looks cool. When that came out, that was one of the better looking new skills.
I don't give a shit about animations. I'm gonna be honest with you.
You an Opti mode player?
No. I play in high low or high medium, depending on how I'm feeling. I just don't think it's. I mean, when you play the game for so long, it's just numbers, right? It's just the matrix.
The flashiness gives away.
Yeah. So we've been asking this to a lot of different people, right? This is Reslar's favorite question. We'll start with you, Heedun. Which class rework of all 17 are you most afraid of? Which one do you think is going to be, when all is said and done, is going to be like, oh my god, this class is busted?
I mean, can I say 3? Is it too much?
You can say 3, but which one would you rank above them? Which
it
one's
depends
the top
on
of
the result, right? Because I think right now, Zerker, Mystic, and and warrior are incredibly powerful as they are. So like them getting more stuff, it's just scary. It's
Mhm.
just like, do they really like? What do you even give them?
Yeah.
And like, if they don't nerf the Q buff on Zerker, like what the fuck is? what are we supposed to do?
One-handed grab,
Has
then grab two people
mortals.
at once.
Yeah.
It's a ranging guard. It's ranging guard. People don't want to admit.
Yep. Nusar, you which class do you?
Can I say one for large scale and one for 1v1s?
Yeah, absolutely.
For large scale, I'm gonna go with Heedun. This Zerka is terrifying already with that Q buff and the new skill. Kind of terrified of what going to be able to do in large scale. In 1v1s, it's tough between Mystic and Valk for me. Mystic being the only class I really struggled the most with. Succession Mystic. Succession Mystic in a 1v1 matchup. Valk was annoying with old shield throw, but not so bad anymore. Kind of worried about what's going to happen to them now. The rest of them should be fine.
Yeah. Mystic will be interesting. You're not really worried about Awaken though. You're more worried about Suck getting buffed on Mystic.
Yeah, I'm worried about Suck.
We talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago, but I don't know if Reslar's back or not, but they should change Q buff, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What would you guys want done to it?
Did he mention that I don't like CC resistance?
You did mention that.
Okay, I think it should not have CC resistance. I'm
That's a good
fine with
point.
the skill nuking, because you want skills to be like to feel powerful, right? Just you pop it and you see the kill feed go brr. But it's just silly that on top of it you are capped on resistance. It's just silly.
I feel
Give
like
it a
it should be
counterpoint.
more. I feel like it should be more CC focused than damage, but I haven't really put much thought into this, honestly. Like
Any way
all I
can
think
work,
at the
right?
moment is
Like you remove the damage and it's better, and you keep the resistance and the down smashing and the KDing. You remove the CCs and it's still good. You blast super hard, you get the nasty kill feed. You remove the resistance, it adds more, like anything really. It's gonna get
maybe
buffed, I already know.
to offset that damage, the damage decrease if they did decrease the damage. Like give them some other tool maybe to appease their needs, give them a little bit more mobility during it or something.
If they keep
Just
that,
to offset
if
that a
they
little
keep
bit.
Q buff as it is, I demand that Sorc gets DOD without cooldown on our ebuff. We just spam DOD every second.
I'm sorry,
And
I literally
remove-
just got back, and this is the first bullshit I hear.
Wait, dude,
Remove split damage from piercing light while you're at it too.
It
No,
couldn't
no.
have been queued up any better.
Heedun, when you Q buff on Sorc, the updated one should be every time you use Carson's protection, even when it's on cooldown, it throws out a disc and explodes it on a target, just every single time, except the damage like tripled.
Yeah, and the disc throws the DODs.
And the disc is throwing DODs as it's
Bro.
flying.
I literally sit down, I put my headset on as I'm putting on my headset. Like literally before it even slaps onto the side of my head, I just hear Q buff, then DOD should have no cooldown. It's just like, huh?
A lot's happened since you were gone.
Apparently, dude, I'm gone for like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden we're talking about Striker dashing like a Musa level changes here.
Yeah. What do you guys think should happen? Nusar first. This is a serious question. I want a real answer for this. What do you think Kuno should get in their rework?
Deleted.
Maybe an awakening, that'd be cool.
Hey, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Heedun?
Yeah, that's my take.
All right, Heedun? Kuno
Maybe
reworks.
make the class tankier again. Give like either buff again the evasion passes, and just add an extra evasion class back to the roster to give more gear diversity.
I would actually be so sad if they buffed our evasion. Just because it's like I mean, it'd be like one of those, like, it's nice to have. Then I'd sound like all these other classes, like, yeah, it's nice to have, but it doesn't fix our issues. I don't want to say that, dude. I'm actually at the point where I'm so distraught about it. I just give me good PvE and I'll be happy. I don't even care if it sucks in PvP anymore. I don't care if it's bad in large scale. Just let me PvE on it. That's all I want.
So much copium. I'm sorry for your loss.
Give me back attack, dude. Every time like a ranger or archer would be like, dude, I just want back attacks. I'd be like, dude, I have back attacks. It's not helping. Dude, so Biceptimus and or Flannels, I can't remember if they both agreed on it, but they both were saying that they think that the Bladers are going to be kind of nuts because they have the most that they to do on those classes, and that they're going to take it to a level that's like nuts.
The return of Shaky Bear.
Yeah, I mean, right now the Fire and Ice Bladers are going to be playing full time. Just really slowing down life and playing full time. What's that game called? New World.
You mean slowing down life?
Well, it's just a lot, you know. It's a lot slower pace. It's more of just like adventuring with your friends and exploring.
They'll come back.
Players.
They'll come back to BDO every few days just to throw a stub arrow. give them a bit more credit.
Pop in and stub, and pop back out.
Is that not what they do already?
I haven't downloaded a patch update in like 2 weeks, I think. So as soon as they get the reworks, I'll go and test it out and see what it is, and if it's, you know, the end result, whatever, however long it takes. I think end of October is when they plan to release them. If it's just not up to par, then
Yeah, let's talk about
aren't they
that for
gonna-
a second, because I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not coming in October. There's no way, unless they
They haven't
start
hit,
releasing 3 a day or 3 a
Yeah,
week.
they
Yeah,
haven't
they-
hit any timelines so far.
I'm pretty sure they said
No,
towards the end of October.
They said they didn't promise it or anything, but they said their goal was to have it finished and on live server by the end of October, middle to end of October, which is just, there's like no way now. I mean, October's in 6 days, right?
Yeah.
So,
And how many classes are left?
12. Now they have
Jesus.
released 2. They did have a holiday week with no release, so kind of slowed things down. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
They'd have to do 3 every week now.
they'd have to do
moving
3 a
forward.
week.
And then they wouldn't have any time before going to
So
live.
yeah, so it'll be November. It'll be in November.
At earliest
or
November.
December.
They might have
like
to pull
December.
a few people off the outfit squad to work on.
Dude, they're
Balance changes.
you know, they're so busy though. You can't do that.
Yo, speaking of Nayasha, you see that new Meiwa outfit?
I did, and it actually does look really
Yeah.
good. At first, I was kind of confused because the stance that she has kind of reminded me of more like Kuno or Lan. So I'm like, is that not for Meiwa? And then I guess it is. So
Yeah, that outfit actually looks really sick. Let me
wait,
see if I
where's the
could-
pic
let
of
me-
it?
let
I'm
me-
trying to find it.
Yeah, here, I found it. I got it.
I've seen it earlier this morning, but
I'll post
into it
I'll post it in the
misplaced.
group chat. That's the front.
wait, no, there's another one I seen. Maybe I got it mixed up.
No, this is
that's
the new one.
Yeah,
right
that's
here.
the new one.
I must have seen a different one. That wasn't Meiwa's then. Oh, let me
Maybe
find
you
it.
did see a Kuno.
It probably was a Kuno. Yeah, I think it is a Kuno one. Hold on. Here, I'll post it.
You were
Here.
someone said you were on Pornhub. Actually, that wasn't the Meiwa outfit. Um,
Wait, I just posted it. Is that the Kuno one?
no, yeah, that's Kuno. That's Kuno's out. Kuno already has that outfit.
I'd rather have that on Meiwa.
Oh, okay. All right, so I wanted
Meiwa's dude never happy.
just for out of fairness before we move on, I want to ask Heedun to spend a little bit of time on Succession, because there are a lot of people that like Succession Sorc or wish that Succession Sorc was a little bit better than it currently is. What do you think Succession Sorc is missing? Like, what kind of feedback, if you're trying to play Succession Sorc, are you sending about the current reworks for them?
Well, we have one Succession Sorc in the guild, and he's asking me add-ons for Awakening. So that's not a good start, obviously, for
That's not
the
good.
Succession. Yeah, like from an Awakening Sorc point of view, it just got a lot of buffs. It's just got a lot of really cool stuff. But I guess it's not enough. It doesn't really do much to what the Succession Sorc actually needs. Honestly, I'm not too sure myself. I think like either extra damage, which it already kind of has, but it's the same issue, against block classes, it's just not enough. And maybe less gaps, which I mean, I know it sounds silly, but
No, I mean,
Succession routes out of juice really, really fast, and it doesn't have many ways to deal against people that go hard against your back if you have a frontal. Awakening, you can kind of deal with it against assassins and ninjas. You can play around that, but if you're Succession, it's not as easy, and you just run out of stamina super quick. I don't know. Like at the same time, I don't really claim to know because I haven't played Succession in forever, and I guess wherever I try to play Succession, I just feel like I don't do enough damage to justify like the loss of everything else. I guess the control of
All the
Awakening.
utility and control.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a glass cannon that doesn't cannon. It's a glass.
Succession Sorc has this weird feeling to me, like, so even if I play, like, if I play Suck Kuno compared to Awakening, Suck Kuno's kit still feels, even with really long cooldowns, still feels like it has a lot of depth. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do, and it always feels like you have something to do, whereas, like, I don't know, Suck Sorc feels like it just runs out of abilities a lot. Like, it's like,
you're forced to use a lot of unprotected stuff. And, it's unfortunate in this meta where everyone is just rotating CCs. Protected CCs.
Yeah. Yeah, Russian Crow having the bound and that punch at the end makes it sad. On Succession.
The class did get... I guess that's the issue. It feels like the complaint that I've heard mostly about Succession, about the change, is that the class just got buffs, not a reboot, which is what it needed.
Right. Fair enough. Resler and Ash, do you guys have any additional questions for them?
I mean, like what was already discussed, I mean, these things are obviously subject to change, so...
Yeah, overall, like, I think for me personally, I feel like it's way too early to give like a real judgment for Sorc, because I think every skill can be used on Sorc. It's not a class with dead skills. We have like a few out of like so many that it doesn't really matter. So getting so many new things is a buff. It's massive. Like, and I'm sure that if we would get like you asked earlier, if we would get this current version on the live server, it would be a straight up buff that would like instantly move Sorc up a few positions in tier lists. But it's a lot of stuff that takes time to figure out, play style. Just it's a lot.
Tier list from like a large scale or just overall?
Mostly like mid scale to 1v1, like anything that is not large scale.
Gotcha.
I'm not a believer in large scale.
I do have I got a question for both of you, actually. So I'll ask Nusar this question first. So, like I said earlier, Nusar, I am a former archer. Obviously, everything's subject to change as well for in context of both these questions. But what would you say? Do you think that these changes are good enough to bring back a lot of like former archers and like maybe bring some new archers like into the fold? Like, do you think it's going to make the class a lot more popular?
Even in its current state, without a few things we want still, like the passive, etc. In its current state, yes, I believe quite a few people will be coming back to Archer. I think it's that little push that a lot of people needed. Mainly the PvE one, actually. I feel like a lot more people are going to be encouraged to play the class if it's way better in PvE, which it will be. and then you can just bounce both. So I feel like it's going to bring a lot more attention to Archer if it was released in this current state.
Mm-hmm.
So Armin,
And then he didn't. Sorry, go ahead.
Armin wants me to tell you, Nusar, if you play Succession Ninja, then you'll truly feel what a smooth class is like.
Look, just because Giho's doing it doesn't mean I'm going to do it. I'm chilling over here on Archer. Thanks for the
Succession
offer, Armin.
Ninja is actually smooth as fuck. I oftentimes just find myself running around Velia on my Succession Ninja, just like using random skills and shit.
I don't think you'd catch me switching to evasion though.
No.
Ever.
Good. Evasion Archer win, dude. Maybe that's what the passive should be. Evasion buffs on Archer.
Bro,
no.
If I had Biohack's gear, I still wouldn't.
Hey, I fought him extensively at Ronaros when he was grief in my rotation, and his
Was he on
Archer
Archer?
was when he was on Archer. This is back before I don't think he has it tagged anymore, but it was dude, he was legit tanky. Like the only way to kill him in one combo is with E buff.
That was hard cap back then as well. Like, I feel like now against a hard cap Archer, you'd still have a significantly easier time beating it than most other classes with it, even if it is evasion. The evasion Archer only really works viably against ranged classes. Like, I don't think it's worth it in any shape or form at the moment.
Yeah, that brings. I don't want to go too far off on a tangent, but that does kind of. So I see a lot of archers and sorcs and rangers say like DP is a meme, doesn't matter. But even if you don't survive a combo, I don't know if when they say it if they're thinking more in a combo or chip, but like. For you, Nusar, do you still think DP matters, like as far as just being able to take a hit when you're like in the middle of a skill or something, like when you're not CC'd?
I think DP does matter, yes, but those higher DP brackets, while they are nice, it is definitely not the main priority for an Archer. The main bonuses you're going to be getting from getting more DP, sure, you're going to survive a bit more chip, but that frontal guard is really what's going to change the most. If you play well enough, if you position well according to your gear and you don't, go balls deep when you don't have the gear for it, you can make very low DP work. I was playing at like about 320 DP for a very long time. Actually, even only went above 320 DP in preparation for the tournament, the AOA. So I was making it work in T2 30 mans at the very least. Like, if you just play well, and a good example, let me think of a good example. Giho didn't have that much DP, but in Siege, he knew how to play it like not in a offensive way or anything. He knew how to play cowardly to the benefits of his gear, and he would just peel and he would just position really well to account for that lack of DP, and he would still perform really well, comparatively. So I think for Archer specifically,
As a
you
coward,
don't
though,
need
right?
insane DP. Like, you can make it work. You just need to play differently accordingly.
Mm-hmm. When I was last playing Archer before I rolled off of it again for the second time, I think I was 289 AP, and then I was like 298 DP. And I mean, I was still like top 5 in every war, just because, I mean, like you said, it's just you play like a bitch
Position.
and you hide and you run away from people.
Positioning is everything with Archer. Like, you get really geared Archers that don't frag very well because their positioning and awareness just isn't there, and they rely more on gear. If in all honesty, starting Archer or learning it with less gear is better because you get good habits with positioning, needing to rely on your surroundings as opposed to your gear to get you through a situation, and then the gear comes next. Makes it easier.
Yeah. Heedun, for Sorc, kind of the same question, same idea. I know Sorc is kind of slowly turning
Kind of
into
same
more
answer.
SA
really.
rotation. Yeah,
I mean,
it's not
just
priority.
because Sorc can SA rotate doesn't mean you should. It's kind of the same thing. It's important, as in it makes the difference. It's not like DP Omega Lu, where it it doesn't matter. But it's not the way the class should be played, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The essay rotating part, but because of iframes, which, you know, as I said, even as I admitted, kind of a toxic mechanic. It allows you to decide when you get hit. So if you can decide when you get hit, then the best playstyle is maximizing your damage output into a small time frame by going all in on the damage and playing around that with your iframes. And it's not just iframe; it's rotating everything. You know, frontal, even SA, HP. So I think Sorc is actually the class that requires the least amount of DP to be competitive, to be viable.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that you don't need DP. Just not as much.
You take your helmet off. We had a war. I don't know if you know Alki on NA. We had a node war against. I can't even remember back in the day, but we had a node war on a 40 man, and he was selling his helmet because he was going to buy something else. And so he literally went to war without a helmet, and he was like 297 DP, and he top fragged. It was like a 41-minute node war, and he was like 40-3 or something.
It says more about the opponents.
Maybe
Sometimes.
that's why I don't want to remember who it is, even though I do. I'm gonna leave that to that. So what do you guys hoping for Heedun first, that when everything is out and released, what are you hoping happens with all these reworks, if anything, and what do you expect it's actually going to be like on live server when all of this stuff comes? Now that you've kind of seen a trend in a direction.
Mm-hmm. Like, I accepted that video is, as I said, not balanced, and it's never gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
And with that in mind, I think the most enjoyable state of the game is where there's either very, very few classes that are stronger than the rest, and for not too long. Best example, Sage Succession. Succession lasted very little, but like Sage Awakening, broken for like 2 months, I guess, one something month,
Yeah.
and then hard gutted. So if there is a meta where there's like, let's say 15-ish, just random number, classes that are viable, and then there's a few, like 2 or 3 that are really strong, but not too strong compared to the say the A tier. You know, you have a few S tier classes that are stronger, and you have the usual bottom tier, Kuno, Musamewa. As long as the meta stays like that and it rotates the best classes every 2 months, I think it's fine. I don't care. I don't mind if the game is not balanced. What I don't want to see is Succession Wizard 2.0, like 1 year of absolute, terror and dominion of one class that is just so stronger compared to the others that it is mandatory that 90% of your guild needs to run the same class. I don't want to see that. I don't care which class is OP, as long as it is OP for a short-ish amount of time.
Everyone has their turn, essentially.
Yeah. I think it's fair.
Yeah. I mean I completely agree with that too. Like I don't mind. I mean, dude, I mean it's an MMO, and a lot of MMOs really in their PvP just aren't balanced, and that's okay as long as the meta is ever changing. It's just when it gets stuck on the same thing forever that people start getting like, dude, I'm just not participating. I mean, I don't know, like Rez, you probably remember, like during the wizard thing, it was like people were just like, dude, I'm just not node warring anymore, man. Like this is like awful. It's not fun. It hasn't been fun for months, and and right now it's like I think a lot of people have an issue with Nova, and a lot of people have an issue with Succession Corsair, and hopefully it gets addressed soon. But yeah, like as long as it's ever changing, I don't have much of an issue either. Nusar, so what do you expect overall for the reworks? Like when it comes out, what do you expect the state of the game to be, and what are you hoping for?
I'm pretty much in the same boat as everyone here. Very neutral. Just a general, there's going to be a few classes that are going to be really strong. It's just how it's going to be. But as long as most, if not all classes can play viably without too much difficulty in any content, then I'm happy.
Yeah. Do you guys think some of the older new classes should be included, or maybe be like partially reworked, something like Hash or Shy
Yeah.
or Guardian?
Yeah, my suggestion for Guardian is remove SAFG. There we go. That's for the rework.
Yeah. What about you, Heedun? For those couple.
I mean,
classes?
rework is a big word.
Yeah. Well, like some additional changes or functions. I don't know.
Yeah,
Tweaks.
I mean, sure.
Well, Shine needs to be reworked. Let's just get that on the table.
I
right
agree.
now. That
At
Shine,
least get rid of the blind spot.
Because it's too strong, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's entirely too powerful.
yeah.
Dude. That shit needs to be toned down immediately. But I mean,
I'm
I don't
serious
know.
though.
Like,
It's too strong.
it's too one note. It only does one thing, and that one thing it does, it's insanely powerful at, and then at literally everything else, it's
Is that bad?
laughable.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. You can't.
Why?
Here's the thing: it's fine to have classes that are strong at some things and weak at others. You can't have classes that are insanely powerful, no one can even contest, and one thing, and then they literally can't do this other thing.
Well,
Like
what
that's
do you think Heedun is? It's insane at, and why does that justify it shouldn't be good in other areas of the game? For example, PvE, where like when it's solo grinds, it's pretty awful.
Yeah, the PV thing is weird because it used to be really strong, right? I'm not sure what happened. Where it just became outdated, maybe. Like I honestly don't know if it's not like if it's still strong, but people don't play it because you can't hold the spot. Maybe I generally don't know.
Rock, paper,
Because it used
scissors,
to be top tier in when Cryo was the number one spot.
Right, yeah. It was good back then, but it was good relative to like what classes were back then, and then every class has been buffed and changed significantly since, and that one hasn't. It had on May 26th it got some buffs which slightly improved it, but not really.
The main thing that happened to Shy PvE is Suck Striker happened.
Yeah.
I guess. And like I just don't mind having a class that is one dimensional. I don't think it hurts the game.
You're saying it out like for like you think it if a class is good at large, could you be more specific? I guess like if a class is good at large scale, you're saying it shouldn't be good in 1v1, or you're saying it shouldn't be good at 1v1 or PvE?
The PvE part is I have a bit of a terrorist ideology when it comes to PvE. Like I don't care if a class is good in PvE or not, because I think the game allows you to either tag to PvE or live skill or enhance. There's so many ways of getting money that like I really don't
Frosty
care.
will remember that.
No, but like if you use an ult to cook, right? Like no one minds if you use an ult to barter. It's normal. But so why shouldn't it be normal to use an ult to PvE? Which it is normal, more normal nowadays with the tagging system.
I think that I would understand that argument totally if we had unlimited tags, but we only have one tag, and some people genuinely just want to play multiple classes like for fun. So the fact that the argument is, well, you can use your one tag to not play the class that you enjoy playing, but instead play the tryhard class to make money. I don't know. I disagree.
You don't need to play. You don't need to play the tryhard class to make money. There's so many viable classes.
Hold on. That equivalency though, when you're life skilling, it doesn't matter what character you're on. You're cooking. You're just using the cooking tool.
Oh, you just triggered the entire life skill community. I can't believe you've done that.
If you're cooking, you could cook on a Sorc the same as you could cook on a Valk. It's a little bit different if you're like, you have weight and inventory and skill points and level on your class, and you actually enjoy the combat of that class. Like, I think you should be able to PvE on everything. Like grinding is a lot. It does like it's almost like life skilling for the most part. Obviously, gathering I guess could be different depending on your mobility, but life skilling is fairly like agnostic as far as your class. It doesn't really matter what you're on.
A little bit depending on bartering. You want like Berserker or Lan. To move on the it's small things. I was making kind of a doing an extreme example. what I mean is like, especially right now where you can make so much money grinding, and you can have like a decent income overall with enhancing and life skilling. I don't think it matters too much if your class isn't top tier in PvE.
Top
A class
tier, I
shouldn't be
agree.
okay. A class shouldn't be like Kuno level PvE.
Okay.
That this is another story.
Okay.
Like I'm not saying a class should be like 30-40% worse.
Right. Okay.
Because some
Gotcha.
classes are, but if it's not like the best, because
Yes.
obviously there's a lot of sweaty nerds who want to be the 1% of the 1% when it comes to numbers.
Right.
But you don't need, like, if you're pulling like 13.1 in monastery instead of 13.0, some people are losing their mind over it. But I don't
Gotcha.
think it matters.
Yeah.
Or even 12.
Yeah, no, I'm with. Okay, that makes more sense then, because there's obviously like classes out there where it's like, okay, in Secrea, X class can pull up to 7.1, 7.2, but Y pulls 4.9 or 5.1 or 5.2 or whatever, and like that disparity. I mean, you're making like 50% more trash every single hour for eternity. That's where I have an issue.
You shouldn't make you shouldn't make 50% more or less, but. There's no class that makes 50% more. There's, I guess, a few classes that maybe one or two that make a lot less.
Well, then the middle, sure. But the disparity between even like just the A and S classes compared to the bottom two are like, it's so massive that it's like literally you just can't PvE on those classes. It's a total waste of time. And for me, it sucks because I enjoy PvEing on Kuno. It's just really, really, really inefficient. So, for example, I mathed it out. This was a while back, but I grinded out a Pen Ogre ring when they were 84 bill. At Secrea, almost exclusively, a little bit of Star's End. And in the amount of hours that it took me, with how much I make per hour, to grind out that Ogre, which was 84 bill, if I was grinding on a Suck Striker, I would have made around 135 bill. Like, that's not okay. I don't know. That difference is like, that's another pen accessory, I don't know. But so, I don't know, Nusar, do you feel like let's say if your class, let's say Archer is just absolutely elite in 1v1. It's like BA rat, it's top tier, competes with the best in after the reworks come out. Let's just hypothetically speaking, it becomes insane. Do you think that would justify it not being great in large scale, like it doesn't really do much in Node War, or vice versa?
I think there needs to be strengths in both, honestly. Like, as long as it's not the worst at one, but it's really good at the other. Obviously, as the kind of player I am, I would heavily favor large-scale performance over 1v1s. But if it was one extreme or the other, I wouldn't be happy with either. There needs to be some balance.
Yeah.
I mean,
favoring. Would you say, like, Heedun, would you say it's fair to say, like a class shouldn't be good at everything? Like, let's say if something is good in 1v1 and it's like plays a decent role as flex, but it's not like a ball class. Is that all right, where it still has a role in Node War? It's not completely useless?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I don't think every class should be good at everything.
Right. Do you guys think with the reworks, Wizwitch should be improved in 1v1, like Awakening specifically?
No, fuck Wizard and Witches. Like Witches maybe deserve some love, but like Wizards have terrorized the game for a year straight. Like, my suggestion was that every person that played Succession Wizard during the time it was broken should be forced to like stay on Wizard and like nerf Wizard even more.
And
so
suffer.
They have to, like, yeah, they pretty much have, to suffer for their decision, and it's I think it's fair.
Oh my god,
man.
Yeah.
The level of hate.
Reslar, your feelings on that?
I feel like that's more hate than I have for Warrior.
It is only hate. Just based on pure hate.
I understand. Listen, I rolled Suck Wizard specifically to become part of the problem and help terrorize people so that it would
so
get changed.
noble of you. I bet you use for gathering at the Mountain for
I
PvE.
spent $10 of my own hard-earned money to rename my wizard Nerf Suck Wizard. And I played it for like 3 weeks, and then it got nerfed, so you're welcome.
Wait, you didn't put Felix in your name somewhere?
Oh my god.
You need to be the change you want to
And then
see in the
you're
world,
also welcome, by
not
the
the
way.
problem.
Guess who tagged their Awakened Sage, spent another $10 to rename their Sage to Nerf Awakened Sage, and then it got nerfed 2 weeks later. You're welcome.
Oh yeah.
Wait, Heedun's not happy about that. He was on that class, dude.
Oh no, I wanted Sage to be nerfed. It was too much, too overtuned. But like that's what they said earlier. Like the biggest problem with the Sage and Nova was that they were way too strong compared to the rest of the classes. Like the S tier classes were significantly stronger than the A tier classes. There wasn't like a steady progression. You know, B tier, A tier, S tier. It was like A tier and S plus 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 with Nova and Sage, which forced me. I'm not gonna say force me. It didn't force me, but I felt like I needed to tag Sage to stay sane, because I was losing it. You know, it was Sage and Nova were just completely shitting on everything, every other class, and it just didn't feel fun playing video if you didn't play these two classes. And with Succession Wizard being broken for an entire year, I didn't know if we were gonna have an entire year of Nova Sage domination.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully we never go through that again.
Illyrian chat.
Right.
He plays Witch. He says that he wishes for people like Heedun there was like a blacklist that you could put them on so they don't get heals ever when they cast their heals. You
I
just
did-
have
I-
certain names.
First of all, I frame all the heals. Don't worry. Second of all, I
He
did
does
say
that
that
himself.
witches deserve love. Like I said,
They don't.
See,
witch a little bit. Like witch has been a worse wizard for a long, long time.
Incorrect. How quickly people forget.
It was
All it takes
no, it
is
was
a year. All it takes is a year of Suck Wizard Stockholm syndrome, and people
Out of
forget
5
how
years.
busted
Out
as
of
fuck
5
that
years.
Witch was before.
Nah, it wasn't that much better. It was just wizard players being garbage.
Right.
That's just facts. Yeah, first of all, like wizard, let's address the elephant in the room. Like it's like Guardian, like 90% of the player, but 90 is even generous. Like 99 are just completely terrible at the game, and they play the class because it allows them to do somewhat decent while being terrible at the game. So you never see those classes properly shine. So yeah, wizard players are better. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I think caster players in general are bad, but
I mean,
I
you-
hard
like,
disagree with the idea that Witch has just like always been worse than Wizard. That is
out of
just
5,
propaganda.
since release, most of the time wizard was better.
I don't know about that one, brother.
well, in the pre-awakened days, they were identical, right? Did they have any
They
differences?
were identical in the pre-awakened days, and then Awakenings came out. I think before the CC changes, I think Wizard was probably better.
A lot
But
better,
post CC changes, I think Witch was better for the longest time. And then they buffed Witch even more with all the Voltaic bullshit changes. And then Suck Wizard came out, and then Suck Wizard was the most insane thing this game's ever seen
Well,
in all the
actually,
years.
you skipped a step. Suck Wizard came out, and Witch was still better, and then they buffed all the damage on Suck Wizard. Remember? Because the damage was different on the Witch skills at first on Global Labs.
Yeah,
And
that's
on
It's
right.
a really long April Fool's joke.
it was super crazy.
Listen, all I'm saying is whenever they sped up Voltaic Pulse, I had witches in my own guild arguing with me that it was a fucking nerf, and now I don't believe that witches deserve rights. So that's all I'm saying.
Heedun, do you node war in Siege right now?
Since War disbanded, I haven't.
Okay.
Because I created my own guild and I'm going really slow with the recruitment.
Okay.
But we are looking for. We will approach like a siege soon with the Alliance.
Have you?
But before that, just for context, for the NA players, I've been in the strongest Node War guild for a few years.
Oh, okay, so you didn't. Okay, got it. Do you have you been I don't know. Are you GM of your guild, or do you have a?
I am. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm GM, so
So
I'm
you
not
can't
merc.
merc. That sucks. Nusar, how is do you node war and Siege?
Yeah, I was primarily Node War for a very long time, but now that they've decided to give fat stacks of cash to Siege winners, I'm chilling in siege guilds. Well,
So
So I'm really
how
passionate about Siege.
does Archer feel in the capped siege? I kind of wanted to ask you that specifically currently.
all right, this is a loaded answer.
Okay.
But I'm not sure if it's just my computer being shit at times and a combination of my high ass ping, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm struggling a little bit more than I should
Okay.
on Siege capped. However, Archer on capped Siege still very viable.
Okay.
Ever seen Shoju? Work of art. Literally went 115-0 in Valencia capped on Archer
Interesting.
like-
Interesting.
a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Does it?
But
I mean, it needs to play with other people though, right? Like as far as to secure
yes.
kills.
Oh yes. Yes. It's a lot of peeling for teammates, playing around the outside, quick engagement, quick disengage, and
Yeah.
no, that's pretty much it. Playing around people.
I think one of the things a lot of people struggle with when you're used to T2 Node Wars, T3, T4, and old Siege that are uncapped, where everyone does die anywhere from 2 to 4 abilities, like pretty quick. A lot of people go to Cap Siege and just immediately feels like, I do no damage, my class sucks in Cap Siege. But not, you definitely have to play way more with people than by yourself. Like,
it's securing the kills. Let's just say that's the best way to put it. As an archer in Cap Siege, you are the kill securer.
KSer.
Stealing, yes, S is the abbreviation's there, KS, but
it's the same abbreviation, yeah.
securing, I don't know if that's the word, you know. Yeah, because I wanted to ask you, Heedun, because my the friends I know that play Sorc, some of them have been complaining about how Sorc feels in Cap Siege, but in our last siege we had we were in there for 2.5 hours and rank 2 and 3 were both Sorcs, so I'm like can't tell if Sorc is decent or if it feels bad in Siege.
I mean, I can provide insight in the sense that I haven't played Sorc in Siege in pretty much since start of January. But one thing I can say is that the KDA is not necessarily a good representation of either
Obviously.
the strength of a class or it's not.
What if your
best representation
KDA is like on average 20-1 or 18-1 for like 10 straight weeks? Then does the pattern start being like, okay, maybe it is good, or you still think it doesn't really give much insight?
It's I don't think it's that simple, because I'm not trying to advocate saying Sorc isn't strong in Siege, because as I said, I haven't played it in so long that I genuinely don't know. And I also don't care about Siege. Like, I don't think Siege is that interesting as a content. And what I think is, if it's good KDA, like, is it still fun? Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter if your KDA is good if you are doing something incredibly boring or one-dimensional, or using the same skill over and over. Because maybe, like, you're fragging a lot, but maybe you're doing the same 2 shit, for 4 hours. You're using the same 2 skills for 4 hours, and that's incredibly boring.
Yeah,
classes have a lot more freedom in Siege.
Well, that's a good point, because that's kind of what Nayashe and the Meiwas like go through with PvE, whereas like their PvE actually for a while now has been pretty decent. But they have to spam the one ability, so it's like miserable. It feels really, really boring and uninteresting. And it doesn't look cool. It looks like they're shoveling. Like, it looks like they're working.
We
in
are
like
literally
a prison
we
yard.
are literally shoveling in the desert.
Yeah, they look like they're working in a prison yard when they grind.
I am getting those hards and shards, baby.
But then some people like Reslar is okay with just spinning, you know?
Oh yeah,
On
dude,
his
press
Zerk.
one
Well,
button
yeah,
and
he
just
can
let
get
it
up and go fucking get a coffee. I have to sit there and keep shoveling, like.
Personally,
Yeah,
I feel like
I think that's
PvE should be easy.
If I could just set it on autopilot shovel,
Yeah,
we
I think
could be
that's the
talking
main
here.
difference, right? If I had to like manually spin my mouse around in circles to continue spinning, I also would probably find that a pain in the ass.
You do more DPS if you're spinning your mouse around? I'm into that, dude.
I could see it.
But
That's
luckily
facts.
for me, I just
Can't
press
confirm.
one button and then I can go use the bathroom or take a bite of my sandwich or something.
I will
Does that
say
suck
this.
Nova?
I will say
No,
this
Zerker,
though.
suck Zerker.
Even with it being like uninteresting and whatnot, we make pretty good money doing it that way. So it's like I when I was grinding heavily, I was kind of getting to the point where I was like, it doesn't matter that much. Like at the end of the day, grinding is just fucking boring as it is, so it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah, I mean, no one actually likes grinding, so.
Heedun, I'm not going to get into this. Heedun, you were about to say something that I agree with your point. I talked to Armin about this a little bit. Ninja, I think, is a really good example where you can grind on Awakening and it's pretty chill, or you can grind on Suck and it's really sweaty. I think having that option on one single class is actually kind of cool. But I do agree for the most part, like grinding shouldn't be like my hands hurt after a loot scroll.
Yeah, let's be real. Like BDO PvE isn't challenging. There's no challenging just getting gear, or the hardest thing about playing BDO is not quitting. That's like how many people
it's pretty fair.
how many people haven't actually quit the game like at least once? Like
They're good. That makes them good.
So I think gatekeeping PvE behind high APM is just unnecessary, because I see PvE as a mean to an end, not as a content in the game. Like it's something nice. It can be relaxing. It can be something chill to do with friends when you don't want a PvP.
Yeah,
but
I agree with that sentiment.
But then again, like this is what I don't know. I feel bad for saying this because I know a lot of people play this game without ever PvPing, and I generally cannot relate. Because I don't see PvE as something I would like. PvE makes sense with context, right? You're hitting mobs and you're getting stronger to fight in PvP. But like grinding to grind, I don't get it. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to be a psychopath to want to just grind for no reason because you find it fun or something.
Well, you like the income and watching the progression. I agree with you, Heedun. Like it feels like if you PvP, it feels like there's more of a point. But there was also like a large community before Manos was a thing that were life skilling full time and upgrading their gear when they don't PvE or PvP just because that was the only form of progress.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
It's like a trophy.
I don't understand why.
Yeah,
because it's not challenging. Because if you're talking a game that has raids, I mean, now you have the dungeon, I guess. So maybe it will make sense after we have all the dungeons. But like even the hardest PvE spot, you could make an argument for Oluns. That is, it requires a little bit of skill. You need to be awake. That's a skill. You need to look at the monitor. I mean, yeah, you're laughing, but that's true. Like the difference between grinding any other grind spot and Oluns is that you have to look at the monitor. Like that's the only difference. When you stream, you get really used to not look at your monitor. Especially if you grind. Like it's so you can grind almost every spot in the game, if not every spot in the game. And the only thing keeping you from maybe grinding a harder spot is not because it's hard, but because it requires more gear.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, like you're supposed to be playing the game, but yet you're sitting there watching Netflix while you're, gearing up, essentially.
I like life skilling. Like I do bartering, and I do it because it gets me money to increase my gear for PvP. I could never see myself like maybe you life skill to get more life skill gear so you can make more money to then PvP. I don't see this game. I don't see how people like this game without the PvP. But I don't want to gatekeep. Like maybe if someone likes it, who am I to judge? I don't want to be a gatekeeping asshole. If more people enjoy BDO, that's better for everyone, right?
I don't want to keep Nusar too much longer because I believe it's 5 a.m. where he's at.
5:20, baby.
5:20. So I want to get him out of here, but I just want to get your guys' opinion on this because the gatekeeping word kind of reminded me of a discussion that was going on this week because of the potential 10 armor or armors. We don't know for sure. That's coming on the 29th that they're supposed to announce how to get it. And then we've gotten like the Pen Kaposha necklace, and they give us the Ring of Crescent Guardian that if you do the daily for, you get. So I wanted to get your guys' opinions kind of one by one, starting with Nusar. How do you guys feel about that stuff that they're using as sort of like a catch-up mechanic, or to make things a little bit easier, like the enhancement rates on Tuvala is another good example. Do you guys feel like that devalues a little bit of the work that you did? Do you feel like that needs to be in the game, or what are your thoughts on that kind of stuff?
I'm in favor of these catch-up mechanics, but there is a line that I personally draw, and I'm sure there's a line that everyone draws at different points for where they feel that gear the game's giving to these players is undeserved, or they didn't have to work for, and they should. I was completely fine with Kaposha up until the neck. I thought the neck was dumb, honestly, especially with how it affects the market. The belt was kind of like the last one for me. But with the pen ring, I like it personally since I'm 0-16 on pen axe, and it helps me out directly. But I think the crescent's a good thing. The Tuvala stuff I haven't looked too much into, the increased rates for a pen. But that's my sense on the other ones. I think catch-up mechanics are good, but I still feel like the Kaposha neck was a bit too free, considering it was 2 seconds of pressing R on Fuga for what is essentially a Ted Ogre ring.
Yeah. What about the potential upcoming armor?
Please remind me what the armor thing is again.
So,
I'm getting delirious.
When
I don't think we know, right?
Yeah, we don't know exactly how you're gonna get it, but right now it's like the community's kind of like arguing with each other on what's gonna happen. Some people think it's gonna be a free pen armor. Some people think it's gonna be a free set of pen armor. Some people think you're gonna have to do dailies similar to the ring. Let's just say, to me, what makes sense, what they'll probably do is let's say there's some daily and you have to do like 30 to 60 days of dailies, invest a little bit of silver, and then it guarantees you one of your Tuvala pieces become a pen armor. Are you okay with something like that? Or is that
I'm okay with something like that.
Okay.
As long as it's like once per season at most kind of thing. Like, I don't even know if I'd allow that happening, or I'd personally like that happening multiple times, consistently. I'm fine with something like that where they actually have to, like, there's some work and it just costs a bit cheaper with a bit more time investment than an actual pen armor. But I don't want that repeatable, personally. Like, I think it's good to get people off the ground in the current state, but then I would suggest that they wait a good amount of time before, gear goes up a little bit more, like the soft cap goes up a little bit more to allow the second one,
Heedun, your thoughts on the catch-up mechanics that they've been adding?
I have some pretty strong opinions. I think like it's for whatever reason the BDO player base is some of the most weirdest gatekeeping, where people feel like grinding, like pressing 3 buttons in a circle for like 6,000 hours equals skill, and it's like, oh, I deserve this. Like, no one deserves their gear. You either got it because you were RNG carried, or because you just grinded like a mindless slave. Like, gear in this game isn't hard to get. It's just a time sink or a luck sink. So I find it so weird that people find entitlement and they feel the need that to gatekeep progression from new players. If there's no if there's no way for new players to reach a playable level, like, this game is not gonna get any new players, not gonna get growth, and it's gonna die slowly die. So it's I think it's good. The more new players get to enjoy the game, the better it is.
Someone says they feel like you don't like the game, Heedun.
I love the game. I've been playing this game almost every day since release. I don't like the players.
Oh my god.
Fair, very fair.
Yeah. Nayaashi and Rezlar, your guys' thoughts on the catch-up stuff that's been coming out?
Honestly, think it's solid. I think
And
it's
Nash, you can't hate it because after he plays New World for a while, he's going to need the catch-up mechanics.
fine. Probably.
Yeah. and
I mean, I
currently
already
need the
have all
catch-up
my pen
mechanics,
gear.
so-
I just don't have pen accessories at this point.
Yeah.
So
What were you
I
saying,
have
Chris?
less gear than a child character now, so my opinion is kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I experienced this game when I was a NEET. I wasn't working. I didn't have any responsibilities. I wasn't doing anything. I was grinding 12 hours a day, and I was insanely geared. And it wasn't fulfilling. Like getting geared because you have more time than other people isn't something you should be even proud of. Like, if anything, it's a badge of shame when you realize how important time is, and how much of a waste is doing meaningless, repetitive tasks. Like now that obviously it's 6 years almost. Life changes a lot. Went from my early 20s to my mid to late 20s, and I don't want to spend 10 hours a day grinding. Like, I don't want anyone to spend 10 hours a day grinding. I don't think that should be a gatekeep for gear. And
Yeah.
the more people get gear, the more I get to enjoy PvP with people.
Honestly, if it's like so when I first started and when a lot of us first started, I remember it took me about a year, probably from the beginning of 2017 to right around when Mystic came out, maybe around 2018, to get I was 220 AP and 91 DP or something like that. And like if that still took a year today, there's like no point. You're just never going to be able to participate. That doesn't even get you to like the caps anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, so far I haven't really been bothered at all by any of the catch-up mechanics. I also think it's good to get new players into the game. Keeps the game fresh, keeps new players coming in and out. It also helps players that quit for a long time, that did put time in back in the day, but their gear's outdated, helps them come back. Like I know just someone personally recently that they quit for 2 years, and it's crazy. You kind of forget, but he was like super geared back then, and now it actually makes sense for him to just play on seasons. And I also think it helps for the PvP stuff, just getting people into Node Wars and Siege and having a bigger community there as well. So overall, I think it's good. I don't know. I mean, I guess I totally see like Nusar's point. There's a line, and then there's like a more extreme, people that have more extreme feelings on it where they just don't think any of it is fair. It's all bullshit, and that none of it should be in the game. They should have to work for it. But I think there's a line. It just, to me, they really haven't crossed it for how long the game has been out and how different the game is now. I think it's been pretty okay.
Yeah, but I understand that, but I also think that you should work for your progression is a big keg W. As I've been extremely RNG carried, and I've been also insanely unlucky. Like it took me 316 stones to get my dual falling god. Like I'm pretty sure I am still the holder of the world record for the most amount of stones used for a dual falling god. Or back then it took me 300 hours to get the cactus piece. It used to be insane. Now there's people with more hours than me without potion pieces. I don't think that you are like, are you better at the game because you got stuff like with average or slightly bad luck or slightly good luck? It's I don't think there's much merit in gear as it currently is in video.
Right. Yeah, true.
Also, they're not giving away real endgame stuff. Like Pen Crescent isn't even endgame. You could
these
argue.
days, yeah. I'm sitting here working on replacing that free ring for a Pen I, so it can actually have
I'm
endgame.
personally very offended.
Like even if they give away a pen armor, like if they give a pen armor for free, like you still have, like, even C9 isn't good anymore. Like you have so many billions of cappers that you still have to add on top of it, and pen armors are so easy to get that people are making them for profit. I don't know.
I wish someone would tell that to Reslar so he can roll off these Tet Blackstar armors he's wearing.
I don't have them anymore.
None of them?
No.
I'm actually so proud. I didn't know that. 2 weeks has passed.
I absolutely annihilated my DP to gain like 2 or 3 brackets of AP.
So what is your... Do you just have Tet gear now?
I have so I got Dead God. That's
Okay.
also a new development.
Right.
It's only at Pry right now because I'm out of stones. I gotta get more. But then I have Pin Begs, but then yeah, I have a Tet Griffin and Tet Muskins.
Okay. That's interesting. So I've been recommending to Reslar for the last 6 months to switch to Pen Armor so he could cap us up, and he did finally switch, but he went down to Tet Boss Armors. That's nice.
Listen, I gained like 2 brackets of AP, alright? I do a lot of damage now.
You know, instructions were unclear. You know.
Nusar, what about the pot pieces? Them adding the pity pieces. Are you okay
I
with
like that.
Okay.
I'm very I encourage the pity. Like, I didn't struggle too much with the infinite HP potion, but I don't think that's something people should have to struggle for. Now the potion weight reduction, that should have been a thing before the potion, because the only reason I went for the infinite potion was because I wanted more potions to Grand Star's End. I wasn't even able to Grand Star's End when the infinite potion came out. Potions came out. So that's the reason I got it. I'm in favor of this pity system. I love it. It's great. It's going to help me with the mana pot if I ever want to do that. It's just gear is where I've got a line.
Right.
That's just personal vendetta because I consider myself pretty unlucky gear wise with enhancing.
As I mentioned, spent 300 hours on Cactum Piece. I don't think anyone should be going through.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no reason. And yeah, I'm currently grinding Mansham actually.
Yeah,
for that 100 pieces.
How many do you have? How many do you get an hour there?
44. I don't obsess too much over it. 2 to 3 maybe after the event.
Yeah, that's what I've been getting at Roneros is around 2 to 3.
So I wasted about 2.5 to 3 hours at Shurikens to get my piece. No one should have to do that because Shuriken sucks. So it should be 0 hours there. All right, I think that's it. I mean, obviously there's going to be a bunch more changes. We're going to have to see what the new skill is. And I'll ask you once we see the new skill, Heedun, I'll ask you what your opinions are on that. So I can talk about it on the show as well, so people get an update on that. But there are going to be a lot of changes. Like the second week of Ranger and Warrior actually had a pretty big list of changes still. So I wouldn't be surprised if Sorc and Archer get a lot of stuff. But
really
I don't know.
Interested because is Sorc the most represented class in terms of content creators? Is it?
Oh, that's a good question.
In terms of like raw numbers and
you know what's funny is there's
quite a few on Korea as well.
Oh yeah, not counting Korea, but at least like NAU, there's an oddly high number of Zerkers. I feel like too randomly, even though there's not that many Zerker players. I don't know if Sorc might be.
Because I do think as much as people probably hate the idea, but I do think they listen quite a bit to content creators. Maybe they don't necessarily they don't just do what they get asked for by content creators, but I do think having a big voice helps a lot to filter through the feedback.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm one of the things I was really scared of with the Ranger thing, like I was saying, is them not getting that super armor back, and they actually did. And it's very rare for them to revert changes immediately. Like usually they'll make a change, like I don't know, alert stance, where it doesn't get reverted or changed back a little bit for like months and months. So that was actually really encouraging for me. For the classes that I play, I cannot wait to see what the other classes are going to get.
Just a quick note to add to that, actually. There was something they screwed up with Archer in a recent patch, where they quote unquote fix the movement thing where classes would do that little skip when you stop moving.
Mm-hmm.
They actually completely screwed up archer skating with that patch.
Yeah, I
And,
remember. I remember. They messed up hash in the same
via
patch.
via the god himself, Armin. They reverted that like within the next patch, which was great, or at least fixed it. So that was a moment that like I'm like, wow, they're actually they're actually listening now. This is actually amazing.
Yeah, the hash tab cancel thing like that was similar too. It was like it was a weird bug where you could do the tab cancel to go into Holiday Assault, and then all of a sudden you couldn't iframe anymore, even though it was off cooldown. It would like stop. It would like lock your iframe for like 10 seconds. It was like super weird. Yeah, those changes are cool. It's cool seeing them revert and fix stuff like kind of quickly. Now, they did. I'm gonna be grateful, but they finally added in this patch on this Global Labs a sound effect for Kuno's new skill, which is cool. But it has been out for 6 months, so I don't know why we didn't have a sound effect for 6 months. So some stuff still takes them a long time. But I am happy that we got.
Have they lowered Mystic's sound effect volume yet?
I don't think so. No, I think Mystics
that's
are
great.
still screaming.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like an archer shouldn't be talking about anyone screaming. Don't they still do that thing where they just start
The
yelling
spam exclamation
randomly?
marks? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are gonna head over to comment. We don't really have. There's not really too much other stuff that happened. Like we got this whale rework. I don't know. Heedun, you go in the water. Is this whale thing gonna be cool? These new whale mobs?
Honestly, like I was thinking about it earlier. Like I realized that there's more to the patch than the Sorc, and I was like, oh, I'll eventually read it. I generally don't know. I haven't read anything.
Yeah, and they nerfed the AFK farming on classes with pets, where if your character doesn't do anything for like a full minute, then your pets will stop doing anything as well.
It's interesting.
To bring back Marie Cave. Yeah, but dude, Heedun and Nusar, thank you guys so much for joining us. We appreciate you very, very much. Appreciate your opinion and sharing all your thoughts and testing everything out. I do want to, and I told the other guest that we had before, and I don't know, maybe it'll be unrealistic, but we'll see. But I would love, after everything is completely out and on live server, to maybe get you guys back on to talk about it. I think it would be kind of cool to see
I'd love to.
the differences from then till...
I have an idea.
That'd be good.
What's your idea?
Well, I'm not going to talk about it now. It's a surprise.
Perfect. That's good. Good that you mentioned it. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Again, you guys are totally welcome to stay for the comments. I know Nusar, you're kind of late. We're gonna read the comments from the Striker one last week, but starting with you, Nusar, I know a lot of people are asking if you could stream. I think you did stream a few times. I remember watching you Node War and RBF. Do you stream?
Did. Back when I was still doing T230 men's and my PC could handle it, I was streaming.
Okay.
Like twice a week, but I'm not streaming at the moment. I am going to be doing a lot of in the future with this rework, a lot of like videos on my YouTube channel and stuff.
Perfect.
In the future.
What is that YouTube channel and your
Primary.
Twitch channel? If you could share it.
I'll link it in the group in Discord.
Okay.
Because it doesn't come up if you just type it.
Okay.
And my Twitch is in the about section of that. It's a bit of a mouthful.
All right. Twitch is in the about section of that. What is this? You don't
Thank
go
you
by
very
Nusar
much.
on YouTube?
I go by Nusar and Ika, depending. Like friends call me Ika, and Nusar is just my in-game name. So it's like I don't mind which is which.
All right. Yeah, thanks again so much for coming on, man. You were awesome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Sorry,
Yeah,
sorry
much.
again we kept you on so late.
That's all right. It's all right.
Heedun, where can people find
Hello.
you? What's your YouTube channel and your Twitch?
They know where to find me.
Do they? Oh,
Damn.
Twitch.tv/Asmongold if he ever talks about Heedun again.
Time
Wait,
to time.
I've heard this before. I don't know if this is a rumor or not, but people say that you are. I don't know if this is top secret or not, so feel free to share it. Do you edit Lazy Peon's videos?
Yeah, it's in the description, so it's
Okay.
not much of a secret. Yeah, I'm
Well, the word is out. Secret's
the
out.
main editor of the channel.
That's cool, man. That's actually like really cool. I assume you knew him back in the days when he played BDO.
That's
where you guys
how we
met?
met.
Okay.
That's how we met. I was streaming video, and he was also in the EU community. And it's kind of a long story, but he asked me, just wanna come to the Netherlands and train with me, be an editor. Said
Nice.
yes, fuck it.
Very cool. That is really cool. Yeah, like I said, you're totally welcome to stick around for the comments. We'd actually love to have you if you're not doing anything else. Otherwise, you're free to bounce.
Is it?
I thought that was just like a random comment. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I like how you're like releasing him from class or
You-
something. Otherwise, you're
dismissed.
You're free to
Is the comments about the strikers?
Some of them will be, yes.
I don't want to associate with striker players.
Oof.
go. Damn.
Oh, actually, I wish I asked Nusar this, but it was super late for him. But are there any other games? I know there's a bunch of MMOs, and a lot of people feel like Pearl Abyss is making a lot of the changes that they're making because of some of the new MMOs coming out. Are there any other
Yeah.
games you're thinking about trying out? Any other MMOs that have your
It's
interest?
funny, like the comment earlier saying I don't like video. Like I love video. Whenever a new game comes out, it never interests me because I'm just too taken with video and creating content for video and just doing things in video. Like now that I'm also a guild leader, there's so much to do.
Yeah.
The answer is not TLDR. I do like. It's kind of a tangent. I like card games. I like Magic the Gathering quite a
Okay.
lot. But that's yeah.
Same. I just started
Video
getting
games.
into arenas.
Pog. The video games. I like single player games. Or playing like multiplayer stuff with friends. But I just play video mostly.
Yeah.
So you're not down for the 17th release of Bless Online.
And ironically, so like connecting to the Lazypian, I guess, part of my life, I do get to see a lot of games because every single day I edit about for 8 hours gaming footage of new MMOs because he does reviews of RPGs and MMORPGs. So I do get to see a lot of games. And Bless Unleashed was actually not bad.
Yeah. I agree.
Actually not bad.
But I'm wondering if it wasn't bad because our expectations were so low,
It could be. It
That's
could
the
be.
real question.
or if
Yeah,
it was
maybe.
actually good. But the graphics even looked kind of nice. Like I was like, wait, this looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
No New World though. I know New World's like everyone's hyped for New
It
World.
looks like a 2011 game. How are people hyped? I don't want to be toxic, but
Actually, how are you hyped?
people-
Yeah,
That's
Nashi,
right.
how are you
Explain.
hyped?
I mean,
how are you hyped for
right,
this
so-
2011 game?
is it
I
like
guess.
Minecraft?
I guess. No. I guess the way to describe why I'm pretty hyped about it is it brings back some of the old aspects of like being able to be in an MMO and actually have a lot of social elements involved. The PvP is actually pretty good. A lot of people look at it, they think it's slow or whatever. It's not actually, and when you're actually in it, you'll.
It's not
Okay,
as
well,
slow as
I
they
mean-
think, but it is slow.
I mean, you asked for my opinion. So,
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But it's not as slow as people think. You have a lot of aspects that are very interesting about it. Like, you got the Dark Souls style combats, your light, heavy, the dodge roll, but then you also have your skills that you can weave in. You have like all the typical dungeons that you would typically want from like, any standard MMO, not BDO, obviously. BDO's only recently got involved, but we don't have like the Trinity type aspect in BDO. I don't know. There's the social elements, the voice activation is pretty interesting and
That
funny.
is interesting. That would not work in BDO. This-
No, it
No,
would
it
not.
would
No.
that would not work
Could you
in
imagine?
BDO, dude.
Could you imagine, like, you're just sitting there grinding, someone just voices right next to you, duel for spot,
Dude, it's
duel
just-
for spot,
it would just
duel for spot.
Every streamer would have to be permanently deafened.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. So I mean,
I'm already-
yeah, he'd have to mute himself from there. But yeah, I don't know. I understand where some people might not be as interested. I think that actually the graphics actually isn't too bad. Now compared to say some of the like Lost Ark actually has, but that's a totally different type of game, you know. But the sound effects in New World are just awesome, top notch. I don't think there's another MMO out there that has the kind of sound effects that this game has. The gathering is really it reminds me a lot of Albion Online, with how some of the features of it are, with the gathering, the crafting, even some of the PvP kind of reminds me some of how Albion was. But it feels
Is
more
that a positive thing?
yeah, in a positive way. Yes, not in the negative aspects. So it's really nice and easy to get into, and I don't know, it doesn't feel annoying yet. So I guess I need more time to feel that way about it. But
as far as the graphics, for me, I actually do think the graphics look really good on the atmosphere and like the costume design and the architecture and stuff in the game. It's just the skill animations look really horrible to me.
yeah, I will admit the skill animations aren't necessarily the most flattering for sure. But I'd say the environment itself, it definitely lets you feel like you're in the world. I think that's one of the main things.
I also love that it's perfectly balanced.
Well, I mean, it's actually not as bad as what some might make it out. Like a lot of people are complaining, for example, about Great Axe and whatnot, which it is strong, but it's not to the point where you can't deal with it at all with any sort of weapon. And because you have two weapons at all times, you definitely can build towards a certain way. If you want to deal with, kind of a setup that counters that kind of playstyle, you can.
Okay, I have a hard-hitting question for you.
All right.
Would you be invested in New World if your class and video wasn't shit?
That's a legitimate question that it's really hard for me to say, because honestly, I just haven't been having fun in the game for so long. Because the PvP is the main thing I focus on, and with it being so skewed towards certain classes or mechanics, it just hasn't been fun. I don't know. I started getting back into large scale. I joined Noto, and the large scale was fun, but at the end of the day, all I'm doing is what was the politically correct way that he said earlier? He was securing kills or something like that.
Oh yeah,
when all you're doing is really just KSing. Honestly, you're just going in, applying damage when you see an opportunity, and just KSing people. So, I don't know. It could be very fair to say that it could be just because my class isn't very good right now and it's not fun. And it makes the game not fun. It makes it not worth it to grind and progress, because I don't want to have to play the metagame. Why should I have to play the metagame? I know you said that earlier, like you could just grind on whatever you want, but I think I don't like that argument. And then on top of that, when it comes to PvP, everyone just swaps to the meta class, and it's just like, okay.
But if you don't play what's meta, you should be prepared to play something that is not as strong, right? That comes with the package of playing off meta.
But the disparity, I think, is where the issue is. Like, it wouldn't be so bad if, yeah, sure, these other classes might be stronger, but it's like I can handle it with maybe outplaying. Maybe not necessarily against a top tier player. The disparity would obviously be exposed, but when you can just roll onto a class day 1 through the first week, and that's all you need, and you're already good enough to just with all the damage and protections and stuff that you have in a new class, and it's just immediately better. I think that's not right. It shouldn't be that way. And a game like New World, for example, and at least in its current state, obviously it hasn't live released yet, but Frosty's mentioned the whole balance thing. It's far better in New World or any other game for that matter, probably in comparison to how BDO's balance is right now. So I don't know. It's just it hasn't been fun.
As someone who is not aboard the hype train for New World, but is planning on playing it, I have actually pre-ordered it. It's just nice to have something else to spend a little bit of time on, you know?
Could be a lot of it too.
Here's the thing. I do not think for a second that New World is going to replace BDO for me personally. That not saying that it can't replace BDO for other people, but for me personally, it's just not going to. But like I feel like everybody needs some other game that like they can go spend a little bit of time on whenever they're just not feeling like playing BDO that day. You know, whether it's like League of Legends or like some people play other MMOs. I don't know how they do that, but they do. Some people play dog shit gacha games. Like I don't know. I feel like everybody needs that little something where they could just take a small break from BDO. You know,
and to tie into that, I think BDO's becoming more, and it has felt this way for a while. But you know, when you add in like these dailies and whatnot to get the free pen accessory, which is a good mechanic, mind you. I don't know. It's starting to like lean more towards being a chore. Like, all right, I need to grind at least an hour. You know, try to get as much as I can, like 4 hours to get a bill a day. You know, and do my daily. And we got to prep for Node War. It just feels like a chore. It's not. It doesn't feel as fun anymore. And with New World, it'll be obviously a new game. There's probably going to be mechanics in there towards the late game that are going to feel like chores as well. But it's something new for the moment. So it could just very well be that it's a new game. You know, it's something new to focus on rather than the same old. So,
Nusar said in chat a little bit earlier that he actually spends a lot of time playing Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. So
how do people play other MMOs as like a secondary game?
That's I personally
so crazy
can't.
To me.
I personally can't.
That's so crazy to me.
I hard dedicate my time to one game pretty much.
All right, let's get to the comments. I would love Heedun if you could answer this first one. This one's good because it sounded like you might have had an opinion on this. Wizardy1111 says, "Do you think PA are finally doing all these reworks because they feel threatened of Amazon's New World MMO that's coming out this month?"
I don't think they feel threatened. I just think it's some like strategy. They've been doing this since forever. Yeah. It's not new. When a new game comes out, they
introduce naval combat. That
they release like they released the massive ocean patch when Arcade Unleashed came out. You know, the big naval game. It's not a coincidence. It's like, oh, whoops, releasing naval content. They obviously plan this stuff like ahead, and it's like people saying, "Oh, but they do it because they want money." Yes,
their business.
Yes, that's what everyone does for a living. Filthy nerd. Sorry. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of greed. I'm not saying that some things aren't excessively greedy. PA does a lot of greedy things. That they really shouldn't, but at the same time, it does feel a bit naive the way some people think the game should be.
Yeah, iDesynced says a Monday upload. Holy cow, we've been pretty consistent lately, Rezar, with the Monday uploads.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like we have. Did I miss? Hold on,
I don't think so. We had like 3 or 4 in a row that were on Monday, so I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, listen, sometimes things happen. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully during these reworks, he uploads on Monday. Every time. Well, I'll yell at him. Zor says, "This is probably my favorite, or my new favorite episode. The atmosphere of the interview was excitement and good interaction every time Divio speaks. To be honest, I didn't expect Divio's voice to be so jolly," which I don't know why that's funny to me.
Was he Santa?
He's Santa, dude. I didn't expect Divio's to sound like Santa. By the way, what do you guys think of them making cron meals a 10-second cooldown? Yeah, they talked about it being too OP, but of course they should revert back all Oasis meals This would probably help the life skillers, and the price would probably go up because players would like max their health, but it would be expensive since they have to buy out the marketplace. At level 50, maybe added stats you can level in breath, strength, health portion, something you can see leveling to. I don't know, Heedun, starting with you, do you think Cron Meal should be 10-second cooldown?
Don't have any strong opinion about it. the health system, what's it called? Breath,
Yeah,
breath,
health,
strength,
breath, and strength.
It's like video has these little mechanics that are in the game since day one and are very outdated. It's like the alchemy stone mechanics, to make splendid and plus. It's so archaic and it feels like it doesn't really have a place in the game. So it's weird. Like I don't care if they make it 10-second. Like obviously they would have to remove the free crons, right?
Maybe they could make maybe they can merge breath, similar like they're doing with all the flows. Just merge breath into your leveling, and if you're level 60, if you get level 60, you have 30. If you're level 61, you're 35. If you're level 64, up into like 65, you get like level 40 or something. I don't know, something like that. The breath thing feels super outdated, and the weight and all that.
It's all elements from like when this was more of an RPG.
Yeah, when you're
like
running around, playing around.
Yeah, it's all these RP elements essentially, right? That like they do have a small impact on the rest of your game, right? Like obviously breath gives you more stamina to fight in combat, but like not that much. And I don't know, it's so weird that there's all these little things back from when they originally designed the game, in my opinion, to be more RPG-ish, and then they just moved away from that a little bit.
Yeah. First name says, I like how positive and excited Frosty is about the class rework. It's like a breath of fresh air compared to other people who latch on to the negatives. Yeah, it's not that good though. It gets your opinion invalidated all the time because you're just a simp or a white knight for PA, so.
Yeah, well, you're on the payroll.
It's not as cracked up to be as you'd think.
Yeah, Frosty gets.
He literally is on the
mail.
payroll.
Yeah, he's and he, for the record, for people who maybe are new here, Frosty was on the payroll way before he was even a partner. He's pretty much always been on the payroll for as long as I've known him. So
the positive thing about being positive about all this stuff is I sleep better at night than a lot of BDO players. I go to bed. Actually,
video players don't sleep at night.
True.
That's a trick question.
Actually,
yeah,
that's not true.
Video players are grinding.
I have a hard time sleeping during the class rework stuff because I'm actually excited like a kid. It's sad.
So how much did PA decide to pay you to show your face? You haven't done that on your normal stream.
It's Geo says hi. With a little smiley face.
Hopefully not more than they paid me.
Yeah. Super Sean says Divios or Sphero could easily be perma members on this podcast. Also, will Nyashi ever learn to properly pronounce Caphras?
Could you imagine Sphero and Divios on the same show, just like broing it out?
Divios and Sphero together?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of funny. Yeah, Divios does. I mean, I agree. Like, before I ever met Divios or heard him talk, I don't know what I was expecting, but he definitely just sounds excited and happy all the time.
Yeah, well, he does. Like, he's a lot more chill than I thought he would be. I don't know why in my head I had this like idea that he was like this scary like machine essentially, but he's just like a fucking like chill ass dude.
Yeah, you just get the vibe. He's this brooding, unkillable striker that's coming after you, grabbing you, and killing you. So you just assume he's a dick.
He's literally like, you find him in game, you think he's the Terminator, and then it's like you meet him, and it's like, wait, this is just the dude that you can just like have a beer with, just hang out, and talk about random bullshit.
Yeah. Cody Shane says, where do you see BDO in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years? Heedun.
So 1 year is guess we're gonna have, I mean, hopefully maybe this is like insane copium, but maybe 2022 we are all gonna be playing, arenas, ranked arenas.
That'd be so cool.
And I think that having arenas is gonna help the balance team balance the game better, because you have actual rankings and It's much easier to monitor. And 3 years, I mean, that's wow. Where was BDO 3 years ago? That's the question, right? Like, how much has improved? How much has changed? Did we even have remastered 3 years ago?
2018. That was the year Remastered came out, wasn't it?
No idea.
It's the year Mystic changed the game forever.
Was it?
I mean, Mystic came out. Awakening came out January 2018. Awakening Mystic.
Hmm.
It's pretty great for NA.
I think in 3 years we're gonna have a few more games from PA released. At least one. I think at least Crimson Desert is gonna be out, and I think we just have to hope that they don't put BDO in maintenance mode. I don't think they will. Like maybe in 10. Like in 10, I can see BDO just slowly fading out, going into maintenance. Like games should have, like MMOs, I think need a lifespan. Like BDO, the only way for BDO to be improved is to change from the ground up. You know, a new code, new engine. So maybe in 10 years we have, you know, the successor of BDO from PA.
This is a question.
BDO Unleashed.
This is a little side dash
Change.
question
Oh
from
no.
from the chat, but Abazil's asking thoughts on the Sorc rework. Do you think that they are making old classes way more efficient than the new classes?
No, Megalo. Like
I don't
if you
really
see what
think so.
new classes have, like if they want to make Sorc like new classes, they need to give Sorc a grab.
Yeah, give Sorc Corsairs grab. The Musassin.
Yeah, wouldn't mind.
Musassin says, "Hold yourself back, Musassin." He says that to himself. Just wait for your rework to come through. Edit. Yeah, I was thinking for the SAFG Q block classes like Guardian Warrior versus Musa, they'd have to give us a grab or give us a mechanic to parry, break out a grab. But I also like the suggestion of given in terms of breaking the Q block, preventing it from charging back up. I saw a vid of Musa from BDO Mobile with Awakening having a grab. Don't know if they're going to take inspiration from that. Guess we'll have to wait. On another note, I am excited seeing all the reworks being done. Striker's change scared me at first, but seeing how good it is gives me hope that they'll do something epic with Musa. My hopes are very high. Hopefully the same excitement I got from Warrior, Ranger, Striker rework. PA will put that same zeal to overtune into Musa. I've updated my G Labs and ready for it. Maybe, hopefully. I'm on that same stuff as you, Assassin. We'll be able to see what Heedun is like on Akuno. Fitzgood says the 15-second disable on block completely ruins Warrior. 2 to 3 seconds would be fine because then it allows it to still work positively against classes like Guardian or Suck Nova without destroying Warrior Valk completely. The block prevention on Spiral Soak, we'll just use that as an example because that's the one that has 15-second disable. Do you like that, Heedun? Or how do you feel about that specific part? Not the block breaking, but the disabling it for 15 seconds from recovering.
That's a bit too strong. Like I like the unique mechanic, but it feels too strong. Maybe it can be tuned down a bit.
Yeah, I hate it on that skill specifically, just because that skill also removes 20% of your block, also deals a ton of damage, and it has a lot of range. Like Spiral Soak actually has range. That's the one where the two whales bounce twice. I don't know. That 15-second disable on that skill never made sense to me. Blood Diamond 78 says, I really hope they focus on useless pre-awakening skills and Rabombs too. Do you feel like they've done this?
Not really. On Sorc, they mostly changed the awakening stuff. They did they removed the skills that we used in pre-awakening, and they left stuff like Sinister Omen or Bloody Contract that are very underwhelming. So
Yeah.
I think they kind of missed the target on that one on Sorc.
Dude, I'm sad Sinister Omen didn't get changed.
I thought it was so obvious that a skill that has been actually useless / bugged since day one did not get at least removed. Just remove it. Like why is it even there? It's if they keep it like that and in the rework, like it makes you wonder why.
Yeah. Does Sorc require overall less skill points now? I assume it does, right? Since it's fewer
I
skills.
would assume so. I don't know. I haven't paid too much attention to it.
That might be a kind of nice side effect of the new class. Some of the rework. Some of the old classes require such an insane amount. I don't know, like Tamer.
Has that been the case for the current reworks?
Yeah, I think so, because they're merging a lot of skills into one, so you just don't need to spec into them. But I don't know if they've changed the skill point cost. I haven't actually looked.
That would be interesting.
Bloodwolf says, give no grab classes the ability that if you hit any 360 block class on their block, you add a % weight to them starting from the 100%. As when you start getting heavy with inventory, the more they absorb into their shield, the heavier they become. This must be a cap though, because in Siege it will stack very high, so no stacking. So basically slow debuff people if you're hitting their block while they're blocking.
They're already standing still. What do they need to be slowed for? What? I don't get it.
I think it means for a time after they let go of their block, but that would be kind of, I don't know.
Right. I don't think slowing, like slows are not fun. Just remove slows.
Slows are rough. Rob Dax says PA needs to buff gathering so life skillers could get more Kaffir stones and sell it to us grinders. That's true. You said you like life skilling a little bit. You barter. What else do you do, Heedun?
I mean, I guess is Imperial even considered life skilling? Just buying from the,
No, that's
from the marketplace.
That's a daily. That's just a daily.
Yeah. I mean, mostly just barter, really.
Okay.
At that point, yeah.
Juan Damashki says, about the Musa versus Warrior, saying that Warrior didn't feel any pressure against Musa is wrong. If you look at the Musa, from the Musa perspective, yeah, Musa can't do anything against Warrior and block. But if you see from Warrior perspective, Warrior is also pressured by the stub arrow. Contrary to popular belief, Warrior movement is full of gaps, so going to chase Musa usually result in a stiffen. Usually, if I see a Musa in RBF or Node War, I just leave them be and go somewhere else unless I got numbers with me. Anyone have any strong opinions on this take? It's an interesting perspective I've not heard before. I mean, Warrior does have openings in their movement, for
They
sure.
Yeah, if the idea is that Warrior literally feels no pressure whatsoever from Musa, for sure that's not true.
Yeah.
But I think it's the disparity that a lot of bladers have a problem with. It's the disparity of the pressure. Essentially, Musa's and Meiwa's, unless there's like a huge gear skill disparity, they have like one or two like key like things they can do, right? Go for the dragon bite, they can go for the stub arrow. That's basically it for the most part. I guess Meiwa in Succession especially can also Red Moon, but that's a bit dangerous because you might get grabbed out of it. So it's just the disparity of pressure I think they have a problem with.
Yeah. I would I don't know that Warriors are not chasing Musas unless they have people with them. I feel like Juan Damashki, you have to be the only Warrior that feels that way on Earth. Alasu says another game mode that they can add is one similar to Battlefield's Rush game mode. In BDO's case, they have 3 nodes that you have to take, but one by one. When you take one node, the defending team has to pull back to the second node and so forth. Is that okay? That's how Rush works. Yeah. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know that splits people up. So, Heedun, one of the things that we've been talking about kind of a lot, one of the things that I've been saying that I really wish they would add to Node War and Siege is something that makes your guild feel like it needs to split up instead of being ball versus ball, like some sort of objectives that, hey, let's send 10 people over there and we might get rewarded for it. But if we overcommit to it, we might lose in this other area, like something like that. I don't know. Do you think that would make Node War more interesting, or do you think there are already enough objectives? I don't know on
Aren't
EU
they
if it's
trying
different.
to do that with the new Node War rework, like the territory thing, like
Yeah, with the defending
the different bases.
Maybe. I have no idea. Since we're probably, I don't know where that rework is. I just want my new Alucas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they kind of are. I just don't know how effective it would be. Or exactly the rules. I kind of am like, it's been a year, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. I want Baron in Node War or dragon. Small Dick Stole Your Girl says slows should be totally removed from this game. They have no place in this game. They just make this game's PvP feel worse for everyone. When I get slowed, it's like this amazing action MMORPG turned into a tab target MMO.
True.
Yeah. Slows definitely frustrate most people. I don't mind slows being in the game. I just think the absolute most you should be allowed to be slowed is like maybe 15%. I don't know. 30 and 50 is such an insane amount of slow.
Agreed.
Jimim's Jam says Musa players, quote, "Hey, Musa is like really weak right now and is losing its identity as a mobile class. Can we maybe get a grab?" End quote. every other class.
How is the problem is mobility, but yet you want to grab?
Well, that's what he's saying. He hears Musa say that their problem is they're not their mobility was their identity. They don't have that anymore. So can they get a grab? And then he says every other players, quote, "You can't buff Musa with a grab. It would be too OP and can dash away if it failed." End quote. PA, quote, "Ha ha ha. Striker flash steps go burr." End quote.
But then they nerfed it.
Yeah, then they changed that. Dude, they also changed.
There's still a lot of classes that have really good mobility, and if you get slowed as a blader, you'll definitely get caught. But yeah,
they also changed double flash. No longer gives them the evasion buff either. They went back to having a kick to get their evasion buff. It's kind of interesting.
that is interesting.
Sui says, "I heard Bear talking about having sex with his Tinder date in your stream, Frosty. I threw up in my mouth a little. My bear boy will never be the same again. While on the subject, will you ever consider the one of your stream friends to replace Nyashi?"
Wow. So he insults both of us in one go.
I don't know why. That's so funny. I'll consider it. Sure. I have it written down. Get one of my stream friends to replace Nyashi. Especially the one that goes on Tinder dates. Mr. Spectacular. Mr. Spectacular 37 says, "Good job on this, fellas. Like Divios energy, good vibes all the way." LaRue's Kenneth says, "Saw in a lot of the comments in the previous videos that makes hating Reslar a fad. Just here to say I'm in on the fad too. JK, love you, Reslar. Can't enjoy this podcast in any way without you." Aw.
Thanks.
Nyashi needs a comment like that next week, please, guys. Something Void says, so far it's like, Nyashi, can he learn how to pronounce stuff? It's like, are you going to replace Nyashi? Would you ever considering adding more people? Poor Nyashi, dude. We need Nyashi's legit Node War take. Actually, you do have some new. Hold on. Something Void says, how about as a solution for 360 block classes, they just slow those classes down? Yeah, let's slow down Guardian even more. That doesn't really like work. Like Nova and Guardian are already really slow, and well, Succession Nova and Guardian's already slow. I don't know that that's like a legit solution for anything though.
Can we pause for a second? Were people hating on me last episode?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember either, honestly.
Hey, let me have a look.
I guess they were. I honestly don't remember that, but maybe I'm misremembering.
I'm gonna recheck, dude. Yeah, I don't think so.
Usually it's just your stream chat that hates on me.
Nah. No, literally, I don't think anyone even mentioned you. Maybe that in and of itself is hatred. I don't know. No one said anything. All right, that's all the comments though from this week. Actually, wasn't that many. Let's get the angry Sorcs and archers in there. We want to know what's up. So next week's gonna be interesting because Reslar Nash, I don't know if I told you, but I'm going to be out of town starting on Thursday. And I'm not going to be back until the following Saturday.
You have not told us this.
Yeah. I kind of sort of heard about it, but didn't know the details.
So,
where are you going?
I am going on a trip with my family, just kind of around West Coast parts of the United States to visit some stuff, Yellowstone and other stuff. We're doing a like an old school family trip that we haven't done since like I was a kid.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
dope.
gonna be just fighting, I think mostly.
That's actually about right.
Like 100% fighting, but it should be. Really
It wouldn't be a
fun.
family trip if there wasn't some amount of fighting.
Yeah, so it should be pretty fun, but also a much needed break for my hands because like I don't know now just like it's transferred from my pinky hurts to just my entire hands hurt all the time now. So I think having a few days of not touching a computer will be kind of nice. But yeah, so I'm gonna miss 1 week of the reworks just this following week. I'll send you guys my opinions on stuff, just so you kind of have it, if you want it as a reference or whatever. But
Watch, it's gonna be the Musa Mewa week too.
I'm hoping.
I hope it's the Kuno weekend.
No.
God, I hope.
I hope it's not Kuno, and I hope it's not Musa Mewa, and I hope it's not Zerker. To be honest, I hope it's none of the classes we play on the show, because that would be sad.
So
to
what
miss
does that? What does that leave it to? What does that leave it to? That leaves it to.
It could be Strike, or it could be Mystic, Tamer,
okay.
Wiz Witch,
Valkyrie,
Wiz Witch. There's a few still in there that could fit. But yeah, I do Lon. There's a few in there. Just hope it's not Kuno Striker or sorry, Kuno Mewa Musa, or I'm mixing Musa in there too
DK.
because I just think it'd be fun to talk about Musa. Yeah, DK could also.
Oh, the talking about Musa, yeah, you have a lot of
All right.
individuals
I
that'd be
have
definitely
next week.
focus on
It's
that.
going to be DK Ninja.
That would work. Yeah, I think if they do the same thing they did this last week, where they put up the Global Labs notice a little bit ahead of time, and tell us what the class is going to be, that would be cool.
God, I hope they do that.
Yeah, I hope they do that too.
But yeah, we'll make it happen. Ain't worried about it. But Heedun, man, thanks for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for having me again.
Yeah,
It was
man,
emotional.
second
Heedun.
This is an emotional.
And like
reunion.
Frosty said, we'd like to try and get people back on like after it's all said and done, to kind of see, get reapply their thoughts, to the listeners out there once it's out. So hopefully we
Yeah.
can make that happen.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, brother. Well, do you want to tell people where they can find you if they're listening?
Sure. Twitch and YouTube, Heedun, and that's pretty much it.
That's pretty
Yeah.
much
I
it.
have.
That's all it needs.
On YouTube, I have a lot of non-Sorc content as well. Lots of interviews that.
Yeah, your
might be
interviews are good.
interesting.
I like the
Yeah.
interviews are always good.
And when do you normally stream? Do you have like a schedule?
Yes, it's mostly EU times, so maybe not super friendly for all the NA.
We have quite a few
people.
EE listeners.
Okay, well, it's from 2 to 7 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday.
Okay.
All right.
CST, EU time.
Yeah, I usually see you right
Easy.
when I wake up. You're usually streaming. Hop in to see what he's up to, and you're 3v3ing on the road north of Hideout.
That's the meta.
That's the meta. Yeah.
Damn. All right.
Thank
Well,
you so much for
anything
having me.
else before we close out the show? Anybody?
No, that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, make sure to go check out Nusar and Heedun. All the links will be in the description to their Twitches and YouTubes. Go support them. Show them some love. Thanks everybody for listening. Shout out to the patrons and the Twitch subscribers of all our individual channels, which you can also find in the description. And yeah, we'll catch y'all next week for another episode of the Reslar and Nyashi show. Oh boy.
I